to 6. It's time to get up and get your day started. It's Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Now, here are your hosts, Greg and Eli.
Ready or not, here we go. Happy Thanksgiving Eve to everyone out there. Our final show this week. We welcome you in to Sports 56 Mornings on this Wednesday, November 27th, 2024. Greg Gaston and Elijah Seegers. Eli is off today. He is headed to San Diego. He's going to be calling the Ole Miss men's basketball games starting on Thursday, on Thanksgiving Day, as Ole Miss will take on BYU. So he's flying out today to catch up with the team. I think the team may have left yesterday. I'll be heading to New Orleans for Thanksgiving to work on the Tigers game, as the Tigers and Tulane will go at it on the football field to wrap up the regular season. It is indeed a busy, busy week in the world of sports. We had a great day yesterday and hope to do the same today. We're broadcasting live from the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, where family and fun come together. The ultimate game room and fall sale continues. Of course, Friday being Black Friday, sales everywhere. I'm sure cyber sales, but you need to go there and see what they have to offer. 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40. They've been a Memphis staple for years and years. Currently, it's 45 degrees. It's only going to get up to 59 today, and it's cloudy, but it's going to rain today. At least that's what they're saying. 60% chance of rain. Occasional rain showers is what the call is for this afternoon. Showers early this evening, then cloudy overnight with a low of 42. Tomorrow for Turkey Day, looks like a little bit of sun, a little bit of clouds, about 49 degrees for your high. And the weekend, really, which starts Thursday, but we're talking Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, looks to be more sun than clouds and a very minimal chance of rain, although the highs will not get into the 50s whatsoever. Coming up on the program today, Tigers win again. They're in the final of the Maui Invitational. We will talk plenty of Tigers basketball. The Grizzlies back in action tonight, minus Ja. He's out again. They'll host the Detroit Pistons and former Memphis Tiger Jalen Duren. The College Football Playoff Committee and their fourth week of the rankings came out last night. We will dissect that, tell you what it all means going into the final week of the regular season. Also got some recruiting news for the University of Memphis that we'll get to, and some big league baseball news, some Major League Baseball news as the rich get richer. Brad Logan will join us at 8:05 to talk a little Ole Miss. What happened at Florida? Is there a miracle that's possible for Ole Miss to find their way into the playoffs? If not, where does he expect them to land? Jerry Palm at 8:25. We'll take a look at the college football rankings. We'll get into some college basketball as well. To Michael Cole at 9:05 on the Grizzlies. And then at 9:25 in studio, Matt Infield from Action News 5 on a myriad of things. Also, you can hit us up on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines at 901-360-8255. Specifically, hour number one, this first hour after we get through the initial segment. Love to hear from you, as we did yesterday, your calls and texts on Tigers basketball and other things in the world of sports. 360-8255. That is the lineup for today. Should be, again, a fun show. Memphis, under Penny Hardaway since 2021-22, after they beat Alabama, if you remember that win against the Tide in that season, they've gone 16-2 versus power conference teams. It's amazing the track record that Penny has against big-time opponents. They really gear up for the big-time opponents, which is just shocking when you see what happens in conference play and what happened this past year in conference play. Got a feeling it might be a little bit different this time around. Yesterday, after knocking off Connecticut the day before, they beat a solid Michigan State team. Not a great Michigan State team, but this is a good win. This is against Tom Izzo, one of the storied coaches, one-time national champion. Some would say, yeah, it's disappointing he hasn't won more than one, but he's still looked at as one of the greats coaching the game. And Memphis wins a 71-63. They never were really in trouble in this game. You felt from the get-go they were the better team. They improve to 6-0, and they will face Auburn at 4 o'clock today, Central Time, for the Maui Invitational title. So they don't get a chance to play North Carolina again, who they played in one of their exhibition games. It will be Auburn, who won 85-72 going away over North Carolina. They're led by Johni Broome, the 6'10" big man, one of the best players in the country. Once again, it will be a challenge for Memphis. In this particular game yesterday, Tyrese Hunter and P.J. Haggerty, as they've done all season long, led the way. They combined for 39 points, 13 of 26 from the field, 6 of 14 from three, Hunter going 5 of 10. The team as a whole, a little bit under 33%, so not as hot as they were in that first game against UConn. They had 10 rebounds combined, with Haggerty getting 9 of them, and then 6 assists combined between Hunter and Haggerty. The dynamic duo already making I think, the statement that they are one of the top backcourt tandems in the entire country, bar none. They hold Sparty to 42.3% field goal shooting, but Michigan State somehow shoots 7 of 20 from three, 35%. They came in as the third worst three-point shooting team in Division I basketball. That's well over 300 teams. After the game, Penny Hardaway said, "I saw grit, I saw toughness, I saw execution, I saw winners." Let me bring in Elijah Seegers, who watched that game along with many of you out there and also stayed up and watched that Auburn North Carolina game. So we'll have you give us a little preview of what to expect today at 4 o'clock. But first of all, what did you think of the Tigers' performance?
I think yesterday they looked like the better team on the floor once again throughout the entire game. They controlled the pace. Although Dane Danger got in foul trouble early, he was able to get back in the game in the second half and make a real impact. I thought Moussa Cisse was really good in his minutes. And for a team as physical as Michigan State under Tom Izzo, they really took it to the Spartans, and I was really, really impressed by that. Defensively, they were superb again. And of course, Tyrese Hunter and P.J. Haggerty were the engines that made it go offensively. I was really, really impressed with the Tigers yesterday.
The defense is what is the most impressive, how quick they are to the ball, how they communicate extremely well, especially the way they guard on the perimeter. You mentioned Danger and Cisse. Both played well, but both ended up fouling out of the game. And that could be an issue again. It's been a closely called Maui Invitational so far, and they have to deal with Johni Broome. And so, again, that will be a challenge for the Bigs. What did you see in Auburn as they win going away over North Carolina?
Yeah, Auburn got up in that game early. They got up 15 within the first 10 minutes of that game. North Carolina had to try to scrap and claw their way back into it. They were far more physical than North Carolina. They were knocking down their shots early in the game. And if Auburn's knocking down their shots, they're going to be a really, really tough team to beat. Out of every team I've watched play this year, and I think the resumes would speak to this as well, as they've defeated Houston and now North Carolina, I think Auburn's is the most impressive. I think Memphis is right up there as well. So tonight is going to be a very big-time contest between two very physical teams, and I think as long as the Tigers can continue to shoot the ball the way that they have, I think that they have a good chance in this game against a very, very good Auburn Tigers team.
Auburn did a really good job against R.J. Davis. He was held to 12. Seth Trimble, his partner in the backcourt, had 17, so they still combined for 29, and that's what they'll try to do, is shut down Haggerty's drives to the hole. And I thought Michigan State did a pretty good job, although Haggerty made some tough shots off the window in the second half. But now you got Hunter knocking down those threes. Hunter has played the best out of any player so far in the Maui Invitational, and he's hitting those threes, which loosens things up. Now, as far as defending Broome, that's going to be tough. Broome at 23 against a big North Carolina front line, 9 of 18 from the field, had 19 rebounds and 5 assists. You got to be very careful about going over the back and committing cheap fouls against Johni Broome. So it is epic. Memphis and Auburn have played only twice. The all-time series is even at 1. They played back on December 10th, 2022. That was a neutral court game in Atlanta. Memphis winning 82-73, led in that game by Kendrick Davis. And a lot of people are comparing this year's team to that team. It's a little different. Let's be honest. You have two backcourt guys here. You had only Davis in the backcourt, and you had a front court guy in DeAndre Williams. a different makeup of the team. They were good defensively, really good. Williams is a really good defensive player. This team may be exceptional defensively, but they beat Auburn at a neutral court. Now they'll have a chance to beat Auburn once again on a neutral court at the Lahaina Civic Center. So, again, a great day. I was at another watch party, as I said on Monday, or yesterday actually, about the Monday game. How nice it is to hear the Tigers fans starting the chant again. It's just a better community when your local sports teams are playing well, and the Memphis Tigers basketball team, along with the Grizzlies, are playing extremely well. And the Memphis Tigers football team, obviously, in some eyes, disappointing. In other eyes, they're looking at the reality that this team is 9-2 with a chance to go to 10-2 if they can knock off Tulane tomorrow. We'll talk more about that later on in the show. If you want to comment on the Tigers, you certainly can. In fact, I will have you, Elijah, read all the texts. I'll take the phone calls at 360-8255, 901-360-8255. Also at the Maui Invitational, Iowa State beat Dayton 89-84. And how about it? Danny Hurley's team loses again. I don't particularly like that because, again, you don't want to water down the Memphis win. It doesn't by any stretch of the imagination, but you wanted Connecticut to roll, and they didn't. They were beaten by Colorado. That was a surprise, 73-72. Once again, Hurley went ballistic, but didn't catch any technical fouls. So he got a little bit of a free pass, I believe, in this game. Oh, by the way, Memphis goes from Danny Hurley, Tom Izzo. Tom Izzo is not a maniac, but he will let the officials know what is what. He'll get in your face, but he has earned that. Hurley has earned the reputation of being a really good coach, but he's now earned that reputation of being a maniac. So that's a bad combination as far as dealing with some officials. Now, some you may be able to walk over or walk on. Others, they won't take that stuff. Now the Tigers play who? Bruce Pearl. Another maniac at times. Again, a well-respected coach, but a guy who also can go absolutely bonkers on the sideline. So you got three guys that are really animated that Penny is coaching against, has coached against two of them already in the last 2 days, and will coach against a third one today. And Penny is more the mild-mannered coach. All right, let's get to some of your calls, some of your texts. And then we'll get to some of the other college games from yesterday. It was a doozy of a Tuesday in the world of college hoops. Keith is up first. Good morning, Keith.
Hey, good morning, Greg.
Good morning.
And is it Elijah?
Yeah, no, you got it right.
Anyway, I got it right. Okay. Well, he corrected me one time, so
You live and learn, right?
I live and learn. All right. So this defense is tough, Greg. I mean, it's not a joke.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't shoot the ball as well last night as they did against Connecticut. And then I think the other team beat Connecticut. Colorado beat Connecticut.
Colorado beat Connecticut, 73-72.
So evidently Connecticut was overrated. But
give them time. Give them time. They got a tough schedule coming up. They'll be better. I don't think they're as good as the last two national championship teams by any stretch of the imagination, but they'll be better.
The refs weren't real great last night. They called a couple fouls both ways that were really bad. I mean, they were bad. As
long as it's going for both teams, if they're calling it tight or they're not calling anything, as long as it's fair for both teams. That female official called, she blew her whistle every time down, but she was doing it for both teams. It wasn't like it was heavily favored in one direction or another. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure we can handle Bruce Pearl, but we'll try.
We'll try. Thank you, Keith. Happy Thanksgiving. Appreciate it, my friend. Let's bring in Dennis. Hey, Dennis.
Hey, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Look, man, my biggest fear flashed in front of my eyes last night that could hurt this Tigers team, and that's when Musa went down and he grabbed his knee, and I was like, oh, Lord, it's over. But, that's the only thing, you can lose. Not saying they're going undefeated, nothing silly like that, but this team is elite defensively, and I think that he doesn't get a lot of credit, man. He makes sure it's not all about blocking the shot. You've been here forever. I mean, I remember Kenyon Martin. That guy, man, I mean, was an elite defender. He kind of reminds me of him. Maybe not the scoring prowess, but he's kind of like a game changer like that, man. And I think Janai Broome, Penny, always your best, other team's best player. He's going to target that guy, and we're going to have a game plan for him. If they can just stop reaching those little silly ticky-tack fouls, just don't do that. I think we'll get them, man, because that's who they run through. They run through Janai Broome, and if I'm not mistaken, he was there in 2022.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. He's a dynamite player, but yeah, they'll have a game plan. No question, Dennis.
Yeah, so look, go Tigers, man. Y'all have a good day.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you, Dennis. Appreciate that. Cisse is so much improved from when he started out as a freshman, and that's understandable. You're learning the college game. He still doesn't have the greatest hands, but he was running the court yesterday. Now, they weren't getting it back to him, and I think it's a little bit sketchy if you want to go give and go with him as he tries to run the court because, again, he doesn't have the greatest hands. But around the basket, he's dunking the ball, he's altering shots, he's getting rebounds, he's playing physical, and he did knock knees, but that was the good thing. That's all it was. He knocked knees. Just the same injury that we saw the other night from John Moran, who knocked knees and stayed in the game, won't play tonight, but that's precautionary reasons. Moussa Cisse will play. There's no question that they need that big guy. I agree wholeheartedly with Dennis. Let me go to Kenny. Kenny, good morning.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. How y'all doing?
Doing great, thank you.
I love this. I think this team has a chance. First of all, we got 8 players, and that's all we need is 8. If one more develops, that'll be great. And we may not have this situation we had in the past years where we're substituting 4 and 5 people every 2 minutes. These guys can play consistently. This is going to be a guard, offensive-oriented team. The bigs will be primary, rim protectors, defense, rebound, stick back. And with Danger, you've got some low-post offense that you can utilize. Moussa is not that. Cisse is not that type of player. Never will be that type of player. But this is a good basketball team. The guards are smart. They know when to take good shots. You got guys that can get to the rim. And whether we win today or not, I think we need to win. I just really want to see what happens if we win and where we end up ranked next week. That would be very interesting to see how this thing plays out if we do win the Maui tournament. Because for me, I'm not talking about a top 25. You have to be a legitimate top 15 team if you win this tournament. And you already. So that's going to be it. Go Tigers. When the Tigers are winning, they're second to nobody in this town. When the Tigers are winning, they're second to nobody.
Kenny,
y'all have a great one.
Thank you very much. Happy Thanksgiving to you. I don't think there's any question in my mind. No, a lot depends on what other teams do. No question in my mind they're a top 25 team next week if they lose today. But if they win today, Katie, bar the door. Again, the preseason poll is just that. And voters understand that it's just a little guide. But what are you basing it on? You got to base the first couple of weeks when you start to see them play on the legitimate results. And if Memphis wins today against Auburn, Auburn's ranked 4th in the country. They just beat number 2. Memphis could be a top 10 team. Could be a top 10 team. And probably should be. But it's going to be a challenge. Auburn is an 8.5-point favorite. Does that stun you a little bit, Elijah?
That does. I would have guessed it would be about 5 or 6, but 8.5. Wow.
Battle of the Tigers. All right, you got some text to read. You can hit us up at 360-8255.
Yeah, Raider Corey says, our big men will be challenged this afternoon. They can't commit unnecessary fouls, especially early. A couple of times, Danger committed a few of these. This should be a good physical game. I just hope the refs let them play.
Yeah, and the caller who mentioned the reach fouls, that drives everybody crazy. The reach fouls, because they're ticky-tack.
Ron says, after Memphis beats Auburn today, I predict Memphis will make the top 10.
I just mentioned that, yeah. I think there's a good chance that you could see them in that top 10. 360-8255 if you want to continue to comment on the Tigers. Briefly, elsewhere in college basketball, if you're a college basketball junkie, yesterday was an incredible day. Alabama and Houston played an unreal game. Alabama in overtime, knocking off Houston 85-80. You have to be tough if you're beating Houston. You have to be talented as well. And number 9 beats number 6, 85-80 in overtime. Also, the Kansas-Duke game. Kansas, number 1 in the country. They hold off Cooper Flagg and number 11 Duke 75-72, despite Dickinson being thrown out of that game for what they said was a kick. Did you get a chance to watch any of those two games at all, or a little bit of those games?
I watched the final 5 minutes plus overtime of Alabama-Houston, and I watched the second half of Kansas-Duke. So, how I feel.
Quick thought on both of those games or those teams.
Alabama really impressed me because Houston controlled the majority of that game. Mark Sears took over down the stretch. He got to the free throw line, made some big threes. Bama's tough. Their guards are tough. There's something called the shot desert where it's either a three or shots in the paint. And that's Nate Oates' philosophy, and that was very evident yesterday. They got to the free throw line. They made some big shots. Kansas and Duke, after Hunter Dickinson went out, I thought it was over for Kansas. I thought Duke was going to take control of the game, but Kansas locked in on the defensive end. DeJuan Harris, their point guard, was really, really good. Cooper Flagg deferred down the stretch to Con Knipple and Tyrese Proctor, which was interesting to see. I think maybe the Kentucky game had a little bit of an effect on that. But big wins for the Kansas Jayhawks and the Alabama Crimson Tide, big resume wins.
In that Alabama win, Mark Sears went for 24. L.J. Cryer had 30 in a losing effort for Houston. All right, when we come back, we'll continue to take your calls and texts. We're going to talk some Grizzlies. Ja will not be playing tonight, but don't panic. It's precautionary reasons. Also got some big Memphis football recruiting news. We'll talk about the playoff rankings. Week number 4 revealed last night. Got some big Major League Baseball news as well. Jenkins Floors and More, which is the third hour sponsor of Sports 56 Mornings, is located at 2356 Goodman Road in Horn Lake. You can call them at 662-469-9350 and set up an appointment. They'll come to you and give you a free estimate no matter where you are. And if you go with Jenkins Floors and More, they will get the job done in 2 weeks. That's their promise to you. They specialize in flooring and carpeting. And if it's variety you're looking for, they have it. They also sell it wholesale. Skip the middleman, going to save you lots of money in the process. Ceramic and porcelain tiles, SPC, WPC vinyls, which are the scratch-resistant, waterproof vinyls, top-of-the-line stuff. Hardwoods by Portercraft, carpeting from Southern Luxury Carpet, backsplashes, plantation shutters and blinds, and so much more. This is an operation that began in a garage. Yes, a garage down in Mississippi, in Cleveland, in fact. That's where Jenkins started. They moved to Hernando and now since have moved to Horn Lake, but they also have a store in Little Rock as well. Why are they so successful? Because the quality of work, the attention to detail, and their pricing. That's why they've earned the reputation of being one of the top flooring companies in the area. So stop by and see them at Jenkins Floors and More. All military and first responders, you get 10% off. Sports 56 listeners, ask about your family discount. The phone number to call if you have any questions, 662-469-9350. They're open Monday through Saturday, or just stop by and see them in Cleveland, Mississippi, in Little Rock, Arkansas, or here in the Memphis area in Horn Lake at 2356 Goodman Road. You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56, 98.5 FM.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11, here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Moving is stressful, but Black Tie Moving can take the worry out of the process. Whether you're moving across town or across country, moving your home or your office, or personal moving concierge from Black Tie Moving will work with you to design a home that fully fits your budget and needs. And they're available 24/7 to answer any questions you have. Give Black Tie Moving a call at 901-316-6196 or go to blacktie.com/Memphis to get your personal, no obligation quote from the moving experts at Black Tie Moving.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director of Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Locally owned and operated for over 40 years, Automatic Gates Construction tailors custom gate solutions for all your residential, commercial, and industrial needs, including repairs, maintenance, maintenance, and installation. Automatic Gates Construction specializes in designing and installing automatic gates and fencing that seamlessly blends security, functionality, and aesthetic appeal. Elevate the safety and efficiency of your property with a premium gate solution. Automatic Gates Construction at myautomaticgates.com.
Family Leisure needs your help. Family Leisure has inventory that's to move because you know what season is coming up. So why wait? You can complete your ultimate game room with a new pool table, a new shuffleboard, new arcade games, or just get all of them. Tons and tons of theater seating, overstocked and priced to move. 'Tis the season for fire pits, and all fire pits at Family Leisure are 20 to 30% off. You say you didn't get a spa this year? Well, say no more. Spas are in stock and they're ready for delivery and up to $1,500 off. These are just a few of the deals happening right now for a very limited time. So come on, check out the gigantic showroom. You never know what kind of deal you're going to find at Family Leisure. Wynn Road at I-40, where family and fun come together. There's an institution in East Memphis that I love talking about. It's the Spirit Shop at 4848 Poplar Avenue, right down the street from Clark Tower, and it looks like a log cabin. It's been around Memphis since 1969 with a family-owned, friendly, knowledgeable sales staff that is just a wonderful place to go. I love going in and talking wine or bourbons, and they've got such great selection. So if you've not visited the Spirit Shop in a while, it's been remodeled. You'll love what you see when you need spirits. Tell Eddie Wollo said hello.
Hungry for that delicious smash burger flavor? Dyer's Cafe is the original smash burger since 1912 and still smashing burgers in Colliers' historic town square. Come out for their lunch specials Monday through Friday, 11 to 2. Ask about the world-famous split dog and authentic Chicago or New York dog. Try the leaner side of Dyer's with a grilled chicken sandwich or freshly made salad. Also serving lakes, Delta-raised catfish, Pasquale's tamales, and a customer favorite, hand-breaded onion rings. Dyer's, serving world-famous burgers, dogs, and shakes in Colliers' historic town square.
Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Felix Cavalieri, Rascals will be performing with Six Wire, this year's Puzzle Liberty Bowl, and we want to be there too. You'll hear all the iconic hits at the President's Gala on December 26th in Lima, and at halftime, 66 Puzzle Liberty Bowl on December 27th. Get your tickets today by calling the AutoZone Liberty Bowl at 795-7700. The Tennessee Highway Safety Office reminds you that fans don't let fans drive through. Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. It's gotten heavier in the last 10, 15 minutes out here. Right when you pretty much would expect inbound on Summer Avenue, it's already crowded. Certain sections of Austin Peay Highway getting up on that ramp there to I-40. No shortage of radar out here. Give yourself extra travel time, especially traveling down I-40 throughout parts of Fayette County. Hey, when you need dependable towing for your car or a truck, make sure you call Marion Towing, your 24-hour towing service, mariontowing.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Back to Sports 56 Morning on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. Greg Gaston, Elijah Seegers, Eli off today. He'll be back with us on Monday. This is our final show of the week. I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving out there. It will be a busy time on the highways and byways of this country. In fact, they say it's the busiest time for vehicular traffic. I'm sure the airports as well. So be careful wherever your destination may be for Thanksgiving. We've been talking a lot of Tigers basketball today, 4 o'clock Central Time tip. It's the Battle of the Tigers, Memphis and Auburn for the Maui Invitational title. Last year, if you recall, Memphis got off to that amazing non-conference start. They were 11-2, and then things went south. This year's team is just different. It seems different. Nobody knew what this team was going to be to start the season. And you have a lot of the national guys that are saying just that. And Andy Katz is out there saying that, and others. That, oh, we were wrong or we didn't know. No, you weren't wrong. You just didn't know. But what's impressive to me, remember how the season ended and Penny wasn't speaking to the media? And there were coaches that were not in the building, and then coaches that were let go, and then you finally heard from Penny, but it was on an educational television network or whatever it was, not network, but local station. And I mean, everything was weird. He was quiet. And then he said when he finally spoke, he was going to get this team together and they were going to all be here by, I think it was May 1st. And they were. And then it was still quiet. And then it got loud in September, and we had the coaches that were let go. We had the anonymous letter that came out. Then we had the Tyreek Smith thing, and thought, oh, gosh, what else can go wrong? And this team has gone out there showing as much chemistry as I've ever seen a Penny Hardaway-led team. Roles defined. Do they have the most talent in the country? No, not by any stretch. But do they have talent? Yes. And I hope to get Penny on. I know he doesn't like to do a lot of interviews, but I would love to get him on and just to have him go over his thought process in breaking down what he was going to do for the team. I'm going to go get this guy. This is what I need at this position. I need this at that position. What do I always say? Here's how I want to start out with a team. Give me a point guard with great handles who can also shoot. Give me a knockdown three-point shooter. And then give me a big who's just physical and can do things defensively, alter shots, block shots, rebounds. They have that. Plus, they have another guard who is incredible. They're a two-headed monster. And then you got a guy around the rim who has Zebo-type moves. He's not Zebo. He doesn't have that mid-range jumper. I mean, nobody's Zebo. But Danger has those quick spin moves. You have roles defined. And that's why it's been a pleasure to watch them. But 6-0 doesn't mean that it's all going to be honky-dory. You just hope that they continue on this way. I will not be surprised whatsoever if he adds a big for the second semester. I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever. Because, again, you had the two bigs foul out yesterday. The day before, you had two guys foul out. And I agree with the callers that you don't want 12, 13 guys like you had last year. You want a rotation of 8, maybe 9. But I wouldn't be surprised if he adds a big to that. Okay, switching gears. Grizzlies tonight will take their 11-7 record into play. Their second of 4 home games this week as they'll host the Pistons. Jalen Duren, the former Memphis Tiger, who's a double-double machine. Not always, but a lot of times you'll see games where he goes 12-17 or 11-19. So he is a really top-line rebounder. And for Memphis tonight, even though Detroit is vastly improved and they got some really good players, Caleb Cunningham, I like the Grizzlies' chances really to sweep the 4 games this week. Now, Ja Morant is not playing. And I'm very disappointed in that in this sense. There are probably some people whose only trip to FedEx Forum happens to be tonight. They're in town for Thanksgiving. They came back home. Or maybe they're people who live here, and that's their only game that they could buy tickets for, and unfortunately, they don't get to see the showstopper. And why do they not get to see the showstopper? He bumped his knee the other night. He bumped his knee. He's got a knee contusion. If this was an important game, he's playing. If this was a playoff game, he's playing. Nothing to be alarmed at. Ja's fine, but they're overly cautious. Not only the Grizzlies, everybody in the league, because there's so much money put into these players' contracts that they don't want to take any chances. And it's going to be that way, I think, for Ja's entire career. You're not going to see Ja play 70 games. It's not happening. It's just not happening. But this is not something to be worried about. I would not be surprised if he's back Friday when they play another Emirates NBA Cup game, and maybe, just maybe, against a depleted New Orleans Pelicans team who has injuries out the yin-yang, they'll get their first Cup win. But again, I'm disappointed in the sense that some of those fans who will only see that game tonight will not see Ja. But I do understand where the team is coming from. Then after this one, as I mentioned, New Orleans Friday, Indiana Sunday, before they head to Dallas, and then they're back home again. So this is a good chance for the Grizzlies to go on a run. Some other notes from the NBA. Last night, the Wizards lost for the 12th straight time. That is one bad organization. They fell to the Bulls 127-108. The Rockets, I said they would be the surprise team in the NBA this year. They win over the Timberwolves in overtime. We had Matt Moore on the show yesterday. He said something's amiss with the Timberwolves. I don't know if it's the result of the trade. I don't think so, but maybe it is. Karl Anthony Towns in New York, Julius Randle in Minnesota. Rockets win by 6 in overtime. Dillon Brooks. Yes, Dylan the Villain had a big game offensively. And then the Suns, they get Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant back. They throttle the Lakers with LeBron and Anthony Davis 127-100. The Suns, healthy, are a problem. They're a problem in the league. No question about it. Okay, we move on to football. And some Memphis Tigers news before they hit the road today. They'll play tomorrow night against the Tulane Green Wave, where the Tigers are 14.5-point underdogs, which is just hard to believe. But I don't think that is the odds makers thinking that Memphis is some pushover. I think what they're thinking is that right now Tulane is playing incredibly well, that we think we can make them a 2-touchdown favorite and get action. And obviously they're looking to get action on both sides to make it even out. Tulane now, I'm looking, update 14. So 14 in the hook. It's now 14. The over-under is 55.5, 6:30 Thanksgiving night. As you enjoy your turkey, probably eat early. Most people do. You'll sit there with a full belly. You get to watch the only college football game in the nation. So this is a chance for the Tigers in the spotlight. Both they and Tulane sitting at 9-2. Now the Tigers got some news yesterday in the recruiting world. Some big news according to On3 Sports. LaShawn Williams, a running back from Iowa, has committed to Memphis. Not the state of Iowa. He may be from there, but he played 4 years at the University of Iowa. Last season, he was their leading rusher. This year, he got hurt. So he's only played 3 games. He's only had a minimum amount of carries. But he has 1,324 career yards. He's a 5'10", 215-pound running back with quicks and moves, and he has 1 year remaining. Remember, Mario Anderson, who technically has a year left, more than likely out the door, probably to the NFL. So they're looking at, knock on wood, Sutton Smith, hopefully can be 100% and can stay that way. And then you bring that thunder and lightning into it with a guy like LaShawn Williams. I've read a lot of positive things about him on the World Wide Web. Now, they also got a defensive lineman. His name is Puda Walker. That's his nickname. He's from Kennesaw State. He commits, the number 2 interior defensive lineman, according to some of the rivalries, not rivalries, but the ratings, the recruiting ratings. I think this might have been rivals, but he is a big-time player on the defensive line. So you're going to hear a lot of names now being thrown out there as commitments will be coming in. After the Tigers play this game Thursday, you could see some players that opt out and decide not to play in the bowl game, whatever that bowl game may be. Hopefully it's limited. It has been minimal for Memphis the last few years. Some teams hurt more than others, but we'll see. Again, we'll see what happens with the game tomorrow. Also, Memphis assistant head coach, defensive backs coach, that's Charles Clark. He's been named as one of 65 nominees for the Broyles Award, which awards college football's top assistant. Oh, by the way, Ole Miss defensive coordinator Pete Golding also on that list. Pete Golding has done a really, really special job at Ole Miss in revamping that defense. But Memphis and Charles Clark getting some recognition on that list. Tulane head coach John Sumrall, who met the media, I believe, yesterday on this game against the University of Memphis. Listen to this quote, Elijah. "I feel like we're getting ready to face an SEC team."
Wow. High praise.
That's very high praise. Of course, most coaches are going to praise their opponent. They don't want bulletin board material. It's stupid to do so. There are some coaches that do that. They put their foot in their mouth. Of course, players, you can't help it. That happens. That's the immaturity with some. But coaches, to give their opponent extra ammunition is stupid. Some people don't believe that. I do believe that. I absolutely believe that. Memphis, I can guarantee you, In fact, I know for a fact that they're not looking at spreads and things of that nature, but they know they're a big underdog. They know they have a chance on national TV to showcase the program. Again, there's not that much of a disparity. I don't want to make it sound like, Tulane is this unbelievable, unbeaten, Alabama in its prime college football program. No, they're just right now a little bit ahead of Memphis. And they didn't drop off when Willie Fritz left and John Sumrall took over. I love John Sumrall. And their quarterback, who was a redshirt freshman, is really good. And so there was no drop-off after Michael Pratt moved on to the NFL. But there are many that don't care, and I understand that Memphis is, unfortunately, not playing a game where there's anything on the line for them. Many believe that would be, this game tomorrow night, the game that would decide who would be in the championship game, the winner being in the championship game, with the assumption that somebody else from the league was also in the championship game, so there would be more importance. Now, Tulane has a lot going for them. If they can win this football game and then beat Army in the conference championship game, and Boise falls in the Mountain West championship, can there be a switcheroo in the standings? I don't think there's any question. Last night, the rankings came out for week number 4. Boise State at number 11. Right now, Boise State would not only be the group of 5 representative, they would get a first-round bye as a top 4 conference champion. Tulane, though, is at 17. They're only 6 spots behind. And again, you beat Memphis, you're beating a 9-2 team. Then you beat Army, you're beating a team that was in the top 25 last week that dropped out after Notre Dame sliced them and diced them. But again, that's Notre Dame. Boise will play UNLV. And UNLV dropped out just recently as well, but they are still in the top 25 in the poll, the AP poll. So it's still a very recognized team. But I think Tulane has a good chance to jump Boise State. So that's what's at stake for Tulane. Memphis, you hate to play the spoiler role, but it's not just the spoiler role. You win your 10-2. Back-to-back 10-win seasons has never happened in the program's history, with a chance to win a bowl game and go to 11. Mine goes to 11. So there is some importance. And the pride of trying to knock down and knock out the team right now that is the top program in the American Conference. Memphis also got some news from the area high schools, as on social media it was announced that Collierville quarterback Grant Troutman says he has a preferred walk-on invite from the University of Memphis. So congratulations to Grant if he accepts that. That is certainly some great news. Okay, when we come back, let's talk college football playoff rankings, what happened last night, what it all means. We'll continue to take your calls and texts on Tigers basketball and anything else that we've talked about here in the world of sports, locally, the Grizzlies, of course, nationally, the college football playoff situation. Then we'll open up hour 2 talking with Brad Logan about Ole Miss. What happened to Ole Miss? What are the expectations for the bowl season? Is there still a miracle that could happen to get them into the playoffs? That's all coming up in just a moment. I do want to tell you about Shoot 360 Memphis. This is just a really, really cool place to take your basketball skills to the next level. If you're a good player, you want to become a great player, a great all-around player, but a great shooter, this is the place for you. They combine cutting-edge technology with gamification to make it a lot of fun for you out there. Provide instant, objective feedback with hands-on, one-on-one expert coaching. And now you can join them monthly. You can join both Cordova and Collierville locations or one. Doesn't have to be both. And you can do it on a monthly basis. If you're a basketball player, why wouldn't you do this? Go out there, visit them, have them give you the tour. You're going to fall in love with it. I've been out there a couple of times to actually play myself. I'm a 63-year-old man. I'm talking about good basketball players to take their game to the next level. I'm sure Elijah can ball. This is the kind of place for you. And at Cordova, It's a newly renovated 50,000 square foot facility with 2 NBA regulation size courts, 3 high school size courts, 4 shooting bays with Shoot 360 technology. There is nothing like it. This isn't hyperbole. This is absolutely the truth. So call them in Cordova. Call them today and tell them you heard it here on Sports 56 Mornings. 901-779-3176 or in Collierville, 901-316-5500. Give that for a present for a loved one in your family that's a basketball player. Sign them up for a few months and let them go at it at Shoot 360 Memphis. You can do it online as well at Shoot 360 Memphis. The future of basketball training is here. Check it out today. It's where the preps and pros go to get their shot on. Shoot 360 Memphis. You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Here's Gould's Holiday Special in-store and online. Come to any Gould's over the Black Friday weekend or purchase online on Cyber Monday and Tuesday and receive $20 off when you purchase $120 in gift cards. It's the perfect gift for everyone. This holiday season, give the gift of tranquility with a spa gift card. Perfect for anyone who deserves a moment to unwind, refresh, and rejuvenate. Happy holidays from Gould's. Gould's Spa, locally owned and operated since 1932.
Rick's Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Rick's Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With 2 big airlines and the largest Mid-South, Rick's can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Rick's Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Rick's Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or rickspowdercoating.com.
If there's a better time of year to spend some time in the comfortable confines of Bell Tavern, I don't know what it is. This time of year when the air is getting crisp and college football, the NFL, the Grizzlies, and the Tigers are all playing is the ideal time to grab a seat at Memphis' best-kept secret. We say it all the time and it's still true. You could go to some chain bar where people tend to make a lot of noise, or you could settle into Bell Tavern where people tend to act like adults. There will be cheering and there will be jeering, but it won't be chaos because at Bell Tavern, it's assumed you'll act like a grown-up.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. I have been told that my ads are all business and I should share some of my personality. Okay, I love tongue twisters, like the one about the terrific tasting toast by Taste Tester Toaster, or Big Black Bugs, Bleed Blue Blood, and of course Sally and her seashells. Or of course the ever-present I'm a Mother Pheasant Plucker, I plug Mother Pheasants. Okay, enough of that. If you want an honest, fair, reasonable roofing, siding, or gutter estimate, call Fiveash Roofing at 367-0050. That's exactly what you'll get. No empty promises, no high-pressure sales tactics, and no fast-talking salesman trying to convince you that today and only today is the best day for you to get a new roof. For the record, the best day to get a new roof is when you're ready for one. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Price does not include licensing costs, registration fees, taxes, and dealer doc fee of $899.50, which are to be paid by the consumer. Silverado RG $355,553, MSRP $57,330, dealer discount $4,002. Sierra RZ $325,360, MSRP $54,330, dealer discount $4,000, expires 12/2/24.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings. Good morning on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Couple of other notes on the Tigers' win yesterday, beating Michigan State. That improves them to 6-0. That marks the best start since the 2010-2011 season, when Memphis opened the year 7-1. They're also the first non-Power 4 team to advance to the Maui Invitational Championship game since 2019. That was, do you know, Elijah?
Houston?
Dayton. The Dayton Flyers. Dayton, who is in this year's field and lost yesterday to Iowa State 89-84. Also, Memphis will take on Auburn Again, we mentioned that series all-time 1-1 with Memphis winning their last meeting in 2022. That was in Atlanta, neutral court. Memphis won that game 82-73. All right, getting back to the playoff rankings yesterday. Top 4 the same as the week prior: Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, Penn State. Notre Dame moves up to 5. Miami is sitting good at 6. But Miami, and look, this week, there are some interesting games. Miami has to go to Syracuse. I'm not saying Syracuse is a juggernaut, but it could be a challenge. You know, Notre Dame playing USC. It's not a great USC team this year, but you just never know, especially in college football. You have SMU and Cal. SMU hosts. Again, they should win, but crazier things have happened. How about that Clemson-South Carolina game? All of a sudden, that's become an interesting game. Those are two teams on the fringe that people are wondering, could they sneak in, especially with Clemson. If they can beat South Carolina, do they leapfrog an Indiana team who's playing Purdue? They're not getting much stock for beating Purdue. Georgia's 7th. They are up 3 spots. Tennessee is 8th. Tennessee is in great shape. Now, they're playing Vanderbilt. Could they lose? Yeah, they could. But if Tennessee wins that game, they're in the playoff. Signed, sealed, delivered, they're in. SMU is number 9. They're up 4 spots. Indiana, as I mentioned, number 10. They drop, and they take a huge drop. Will they drop or at least be passed if Clemson can win? Clemson's sitting at 12. It's not inconceivable that they could jump a couple of spots by getting a win over South Carolina. South Carolina sits at number 15 right now. Boise's at 11. They're still in a position to be the Group of 5 representative and get a bye. But many believe that eventually the Big 12 champion will pass Boise State. But Boise State has to take care of business because Tulane, if they could do some damage by beating Memphis tomorrow night and then beating Army in the American Conference Championship game, they could be the ones representing the Group of 5. I mentioned Clemson at 12. Then you have your 3-loss SEC teams, where they rank Bama ahead of Ole Miss and then Ole Miss ahead of South Carolina. So they believe Bama's resume is better. Bama's got the win over Georgia, where they were crushing Georgia. Georgia rallied, but Bama got the win. Ole Miss has the win. Is that correct? And then Bama over Georgia, right?
Yes, correct.
And then Ole Miss over Georgia.
That's right.
So they both got the win over Georgia, but they deem Bama, I guess, with that loss to Oklahoma was not as bad as losing to Florida. I don't know about that. I would have Ole Miss ahead of Alabama. We'll talk to Brad Logan about that. But again, it doesn't matter because these are teams on the outside looking in. Arizona State's the highest ranked Big 12 team at 16. Think about that. You're supposed to get your best 12 in. Well, again, it doesn't matter when the Power 5 or Power 4 rather is going to have their champions in. They may not necessarily get 4 byes, but they're going to have them in. And right now, that's up for grabs. Arizona State sitting at 16, mentioned Tulane at 17. Then you got Iowa State at 18. You got BYU at 19. And down a little bit further, you have Kansas State at 24. And then you have Colorado at 25. Again, there's 8 teams, like 8 or 9 that are still in the mix. You could still possibly have an 8-way tie in the Big 12, and then they could have fun trying to figure that out to see who's in the Big 12 championship. By the way, I made a mistake earlier. UNLV is in. They're at 22. I didn't read my writing correctly. So they're in. So again, a Boise State win over UNLV, it's over. They're the Group of 5 representative. But a loss, losing to a team in the top 25 in the college football rankings, is that still going to be strong enough to hold off the Tulane that would get a win over Memphis and a win over Army, both not in the top 25? Could they jump that high? Texas A&M, by the way, is 20th. Mizzou is 21st. And then you have from the Big Ten, Illinois at number 23. So right now, and of course the playoffs don't start tomorrow, but if they were to start, here's what it would look like. You would have Tennessee, and again, the rankings and the seedings don't necessarily have to be the same, and they aren't. Okay, that's something that Reese Davis, before every show, makes sure people understand. It's a little confusing, but if the playoffs were to start today, it would be number 9 Tennessee at number 8 Georgia, and then the winner would advance to play number 1 Oregon. So So the game would be at Georgia, Tennessee at Georgia, and then the game between that winner and Oregon is at one of the New Year's 6 bowl selections. And you know the bowls, it's just, I don't know off the top of my head which one it is. Then you got number 12, Arizona State, at number 5, Ohio State. That's in Columbus, and the winner of that one takes on Boise. Again, neutral site at one of the bowl sites. Then you have Indiana, number 11, at Penn State, number 6. Two teams from the Big Ten who didn't play in the Big Ten during the regular season, and the winner would take on number 3, Miami, and number 10, SMU. SMU. That sticks in the craw with a lot of Tigers fans out there, I know that. At number 7, Notre Dame in South Bend, and that winner would take on Texas. But it will change. It will change next week. And could it change significantly? Yes, if we have a bunch of upsets.
Yeah, I mean, we saw this past week, Ole Miss, Alabama, Texas A&M all losing and really shaking things up. I will say, what a tough draw right now for Tennessee to have to play Georgia and then Oregon as the number 9 seed. That's really rough.
Again, good thing it doesn't start today, but here's the better news. Tennessee was out last week. They're in this week. And again, I don't think there's any question. There's nothing etched in stone, but I think everybody believes they control their own destiny. You beat Vanderbilt, Tennessee's not dropping out of it. They're going to the playoffs. Again, that's how quickly things change. But that's the way it is. Life in the SEC, especially in the SEC. It's really in all the power conferences. But when you're playing that type of a gauntlet of a schedule, you're going to get dinked every once in a while. And sometimes you might get crushed when you get upset like these teams did last week, specifically Ole Miss losing at Florida and Alabama losing at Oklahoma. Texas A&M, even though they lost at Auburn, still was in a position. They beat Texas. They get into the SEC championship game. They beat Georgia. They're in the playoff. So they still have a lot more life than Alabama and Ole Miss does, who need absolute help to get there. One baseball note. If you missed this last night, this is the epitome of the rich getting richer. The World Series champion LA Dodgers have signed Blake Snell.
This is the equivalent to me of the 73-9 Golden State Warriors adding Kevin Durant.
That's good. 5 years, $182 million to play with the Dodgers. I think some of that money's deferred, but this is just out of hand, is it not? I know the rich don't always win. It's been a long time for the Yankees. Let's be honest. There are some surprises in baseball. Still got to do it out there on the field, and injuries play a big factor. But with no salary cap, the Dodgers, the Yankees, Red Sox, and the Mets, and you know the cast of characters, they just will outspend. And it doesn't give teams much of a chance. It doesn't give the Pirates of the world a chance and the Reds of the world with a chance. Yeah, the Reds and the Pirates had their success a long time ago, but they're not spending that money. It's all about ownership, if they're willing to spend that type of money. And right now, those teams are not. You saw where the Marlins won a couple of World Series titles. Well, Wayne Huizenga, decided he was going to spend money and then was going to have a fire sale the next spring, and did it twice. And I think that would sit well with fans of teams that are normally out of it by Flag Day. But most of them in that position don't want to spend at all, whether it's for a year, no matter if it brings a championship or not. But the Dodgers and the other ones I mentioned, they are willing to go overboard. And when it results in a World Series championship like it did for the Dodgers, they don't mind spending anything more. So there you go. $182 million 5-year deal for the Dodgers and Blake Snell. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, hour number 2, we'll kick it off talking some Ole Miss football, and then Jerry Palm on college football, college basketball. Hour 3, we get into the Grizzlies with DeMichael Cole. Lots coming up. Matt Infield will join us in studio at 9:25. We'll continue to take your texts as well. 360-8255, whether it be on the Tigers, whether it be on the Grizzlies, or whatever you want to say here in the world of sports. Let's do this thing. Our final show of the week before Turkey Day and the Turkey Day vacation. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Fall is football at the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland, Town Square. Monday through Friday, it's happy hour from 3 to 6. $1 off all draft meals, $5 off meal drinks, $4.50 for house wine, and mozzarella sticks, queso, $4 a day. Friday night lights from 7 o'clock. Dining in Montreal, Wednesday, 5 a.m. Free. Watch college football at every pro game. All at the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland. Highway 70, fall is football.
They're taking care of beerness in Memphis, right on the river with Grind City Brewing and all of their great products. Look, this was a dream come true for a father and son duo. And if you have not been to that brewery right on the river, just to the north of downtown, you're really missing something special. And now you can't miss their products. Wherever you go, you see a brand new label. It's clean, it's beautiful, it's distinctive. You'll know Grind City Brewing, and of course you know their products like Poppy's Pills, that great Pilsner, or Tiger Tail, that very creative craft malt liquor. There's the new Thaddeus Amber Lager. That is absolutely a great light beer. There's the India Pale called God Hopper. It's outstanding. And then there's the Belga, the Belgian-style wheat ale. They keep bringing hits at Grind City Brewing.
Hi, I'm Chandler Martin. I'm back from the University of Memphis football. Southern Security, their home team credit union, one of the best credit unions in the Mid-South for 6 consecutive years. Southern Security offers the latest in technology with our personal teller machines. Our PTMs allow you to speak in real time with the Southern Security team member through two-way live video. The experience and service you trust and now delivered at your convenience. To locate a PTM near you, visit us online at southernsecurity.org or call 901-452-7900. Southern Security is a proud supporter of the University of Memphis Athletics, federally insured by the NCUA.
Family Leisure needs your help. Family Leisure has inventory that got to move because you know what season is coming up. So why wait? You can complete your ultimate game room with a new pool table, a new shuffleboard, new arcade games, or just get all of them. Tons and tons of theater seating, overstocked, and price to move. 'Tis the season for fire pits, and all fire pits at Family Leisure are 20 to 30% off. You say you didn't get a spa this year? Well, say no more. Spas are in stock, and they're ready for delivery, and up to $1,500 off. These are just a few of the deals happening right now for a very limited time. So come on, check out the gigantic showroom. You never know what kind of deal you're going to find at Family Leisure. Win Road at I-40, where family and fun come together.
Hungry for that delicious smash burger flavor? Dyer's Cafe is the original smash burger since 1912 and still smashing burgers in Collier, historic Town Square. Come out for their lunch specials Monday through Friday, 11 to 2. Ask about the world-famous split dog and authentic Chicago or New York dog. Try the leaner side of Dyer's with the grilled chicken sandwich or freshly made salad. Also serving lakes, Delta-raised catfish, Pasquale's, tamales, and a customer favorite, hand-breaded onion rings. Dyer's, serving world-famous burgers, dogs, and shakes in Collier's historic Town Square.
Traffic brought to you by 901 Eats to Go, 3135 Kirby Witten Road in Martin. Pick up or ask Uber Eats on the line at 901eats.com. Eats with a Z, good food fast.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. Trying to clean up a couple of wrecks we had out here a little bit earlier. Lots and lots of radar this morning, not only inside the city limits here in Memphis, outside as well in the county. Down I-40, we've seen plenty of radar in Fayette County. Be careful. Still looking good right now. Coming down from the north on 51 southbound out of Millington. Hey, shop now and save during this holiday season at Weimer's Jewelry. They're located 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studios, we are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 8:04 the time. Hour 2 here on Sports 56 Mornings. Many of you have already started your Thanksgiving vacation, probably headed out of town, or family's going to be coming into town. We welcome you in. If you're tuned in to the show, our final show this week, Greg Gaston, Elijah Seegers. Eli is off. He'll return on Monday. He's headed to San Diego with the Ole Miss basketball team as the Rebels will play a couple of games, including one tomorrow on Thanksgiving at 4 o'clock versus BYU. We'll have that game for you right here on Sports 56 98.5 FM. I'll be wrapping up my show and then later leaving with the Tigers for New Orleans for tomorrow night's nationally televised Memphis and Tulane football game. So a Turkey Day extravaganza, the only college football game out there tomorrow, as we'll have 3 NFL games. We got 2 for you here on Sports 56 98.5 FM. Bears and Lions at 11 a.m. to start off your Thanksgiving Day. As I mentioned, Ole Miss, BYU basketball. Then Dolphins and Packers, which is the evening game. Oh, by the way, it's the Giants and the Cowboys, the middle game. Then Friday, Ole Miss versus Mississippi State in the annual Egg Bowl. We'll talk to Brad Logan about that in just a moment. We got a triple header for you on Sunday in the NFL. Got the Monday night game. Then more Ole Miss basketball on Tuesday when they travel to play Louisville. Currently, it's 45 degrees, but it's going to get up to about 59. Actually, now 48 degrees. It will get up to 59, so probably stay below 60 degrees. We're looking at cloudy skies and a good chance for showers this afternoon, about a 70% chance. Then rain showers this evening with overcast skies, low of 42. Your Thursday, your Thanksgiving Day, looks to be a little bit of mixture of sun and clouds, about 49 degrees for a high, but your overnight low in the wee hours, Thursday morning, 30 degrees below freezing. Only about a 6% chance of precipitation. Second hour of the program is brought to you each and every day by the great folks at James Gaddis Jewelers. They are your family's jeweler. They're located at 4900 Poplar Avenue, right in the heart of East Memphis. That's right between Mendenhall and St. Nick. I'm sure you drive by it like every day if you're traveling in East Memphis. On the web, they are at GaddisJewelers.com. Look, they are your bridal, engagement, and anniversary jeweler headquarters. The rings that they have, the options, the variety that they have, second to none. And the deals that you can get at James Gaddis Jewelers are incredible. Best prices on GIA certified diamonds to fit any budget, and the biggest selection of engagement rings in the Mid-South. Yes, there are folks that are going to be getting engaged, probably many people, around the holidays. So if you're looking for that special rock, and you should be for that special someone, wedding rings, engagement rings, personally designed wedding sets, James Gaddis Jewelers is the place for you. Plus, for all your gift-giving jewelry, for the holidays, for birthdays, for anniversaries, for graduation presents, they have watches of all types and rings of all types. You're talking about earrings and necklaces and pendants and so much more. One-of-a-kind estate and vintage jewelry. It's James Gaddis Jewelers, 4900 Poplar Avenue between Mendenhall and St. Nick. On the web at GaddisJewelers.com. A staple in Memphis for 60 years. Are you kidding me? Yep, that's the deal. All right, so Ole Miss football, unfortunately, similar boat to Memphis. You were hoping going into the season that both could be in the playoff. Memphis, by virtue of being that group of 5 representative, and Ole Miss being one of those teams from the power conferences. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like it will happen after Ole Miss lost for the 3rd time this year. They have a combined 3 losses for a total of 13 points. That is it. I know it was a disappointing Saturday down in the swamp in Gainesville where Brad Logan was. Brad Logan joining us now on Sports 56 Mornings to talk some Ole Miss football, preview the Egg Bowl, which will be coming up on Friday. Brad, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on today.
Brad Logan, who, by the way, is a contributor to Inside the Rebels on 247 Sports, Max South Sports. You can hear him on the Believe in Ole Miss podcast, the Red Blue Crew podcast. I mean, pretty much he's everywhere when it comes to covering things in the Magnolia State, but in particular Ole Miss and even Mississippi State. So what do you think is the situation now? What kind of a miracle would it take for Ole Miss, especially after the rankings came out last night, Brad, and they were behind Alabama?
Yeah, number 14 in the college football playoff rankings. Now, before I say anything, Greg, let me say this. Ole Miss only has themselves to blame for being number 14.
Yeah.
This is not a conspiracy. This is not a situation to where Ole Miss is being slighted. Ole Miss had 2 golden opportunities, really 3. They never trailed LSU in regulation. They lost in OT by 3, 29-26. So they theoretically could be the number 1 seed undefeated, but they're not. They have 3 losses, and sure, we could argue why they're behind Clemson or why they're behind Alabama, but they're going to need chaos. Now, I guess 14 is better than the impossible at 16, but 14 is going to be a huge hill to climb with Alabama in front. You're really pulling hard for Hugh Freeze and Auburn. You're really pulling hard for so many other games you'd love to see. If you're Ole Miss, you'd love to see Vanderbilt sneak up and beat Tennessee. Of course, you've got the South Carolina-Clemson game. There could be an argument, Greg, either way, that you want either one of those teams to win. If you're having that argument, it's going to be a tough sled forward.
Brad, after the game, I heard Jackson Dart take the blame. I heard a very sublime and sad head coach in Lane Kiffin and their press conferences, but you were there and you're around this program and the fan base, you interact with them. What's the feeling in Oxford, and what's the feeling among the Ole Miss Rebels faithful?
I think right now, Greg, the university, the fan base, they're holding out hope that there could be a chance. Now, the only thing you can do if you're Ole Miss is beat a hapless Mississippi State team, one that you're favored by 26.5 points. If you can go out and you can boat race Mississippi State and beat them handily, and then you're going to leave your fate up to other people. You know, if you ask me, Greg, I don't think they make the college football playoff. But then again, who would have thought that Alabama would have been beaten so soundly by Oklahoma, or that Alabama would lose to Vanderbilt earlier this year, or that Auburn would beat handily Texas A&M? I mean, crazier things have happened, and we'll have to monitor that. But I don't think there's any doubt that this has been a disappointing season so far. And if Ole Miss does not make the college football playoff, it will go down as disappointment. But I think you can talk about that in the same vein by saying that Jackson Dart is going to be one of the most highly decorated quarterbacks to ever put the Ole Miss helmet on. And taking accountability after the game, this game was not on Jackson Dart. Now, there was one interception to where he threw it up into triple coverage. He admitted. I think he just there are a lot of reasons for that, Greg. I mean, you got Jordan Watkins, who was playing with an injured hamstring. Trey Harris had been carted off with an injured groin. Daquan Wright, his starting tight end, was out. He had basically Hayden Lee and a banged-up Jordan Watkins to throw the ball to. So that was not a recipe for success. And, you know, Jordan Watkins drops a touchdown pass, something he doesn't do. Juice Wells has just been ineffective all year. The wide receiver transfer out of South Carolina, he dropped a touchdown pass. It was a recipe for disaster. But I come back to these stats, and the stat for me is 0 for 3 in the red zone for Ole Miss, and Florida was 2 for 2. You probably are not winning that game if you cannot perform in the red zone, and that to me was the tale of the tape for this Ole Miss Florida game. And Billy Napier had his backs against the wall, but Ole Miss was a better team, just like a better team against LSU, against Kentucky. They just could not close the deal, and that's where we stand right now with the 3 losses.
I never would have thought that there's a possibility going into the season that the SEC would get less than 4, and there is a strong possibility that they may only get 3. It's just hard for me to fathom. But then again, and I'm not by any means an SEC homer, I do see that cannibalism, and people projected a lot of cannibalism, whereas the Big Ten is top-heavy with 4 really good teams and then a bunch of mediocrity. So it's almost like they've hurt themselves. I never thought we would get to that point, but it's very interesting when that committee gets behind closed doors. We're not there. We're not privy to that information. But how much of the schedule and the strength of the schedule comes into play, because it doesn't seem like it's been that big of a factor when you look at what Georgia has and the gauntlet they have and what other teams, specifically some in the Big Ten, have. How do you measure that? And how do you move forward measuring that for the future?
Well, it looks like when the rankings came out, I agree with you. Right now, it looks like 3 teams in the college football playoff for the SEC. You're talking about Georgia, you're talking about Tennessee, and we're talking about Texas. But I think the fly in the ointment here is the position that Alabama is in is at number 13. I think there are some teams ahead of them that could fall. You look at SMU. You look at, I think Boise State's probably locked. But then you look at Indiana. And then there's Clemson, who is ranked ahead of Alabama, which I don't know that they were deserving of that ranking when you start looking at how many top 25 wins they have. So I think it's a perfect situation for the committee to say, I think we can. I'm being hyperbolic here. I think there's a chance that Alabama could make it if they beat Auburn, and I think they could jump Clemson, depending on what happens with Clemson and South Carolina. If Carolina beats Clemson, I think they're in. So that would be the fourth SEC team. Depending on what happens with Georgia, Georgia Tech, and then Tennessee and Vanderbilt. It's so many. You really hate to really get too far on a limb, but so many crazy things have happened this year. You know what I mean? It's just so you look at the group of 8 and 3 teams in the SEC. It is Alabama in this order: Alabama, Ole Miss, and South Carolina. Now it's hard to argue that. The only argument Ole Miss fans can have is they lost. As you pointed out perfectly earlier, a total of 13 points in 3 games. They beat Oklahoma, beat them soundly. Alabama just played Oklahoma, and Ole Miss beat them 26-14, and then they beat Alabama, whatever the score was. And that would be the only argument. But honestly, Greg, I go back to what I said originally. Nobody has themselves to blame more than Ole Miss. All they have to do is win one more of these games, and they're hosting a college football playoff game.
Yeah, there's no argument there. Brad Logan joining us on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. We had a texter who wants you to answer this question. What has happened with the whole running game? I know there's been some injuries, but in particular, the whole way they've used or haven't used Ulysses Bentley.
Yeah, there was a question at the press conference. Let me rewind just for a moment. We had a press availability on Sunday afternoon via Zoom, and the press corps asked about Ulysses Bentley, and Lane, and I'm paraphrasing here, said that Ulysses Bentley does everything the right way. He's a great teammate, and you just have to make difficult decisions. Okay, so he really didn't answer the question. So the question was asked once again on Monday by the same media member, and he followed up. So, he was graded as this, and he came into the season doing this, and Lane basically reiterated what he said on the call. What we have, Greg, is that they do not feel like that Ulysses Bentley is good enough to be the starting running back or to have substantial carries for this Ole Miss offense. They being Ole Miss, used Micah Davis, who is a walk-on wide receiver at tailback. And what I can only think of is the offensive lines had difficulty opening holes for the running game. But Micah Davis had a little bit of speed to get to the edge. He wasn't able to do that against Florida. Florida's defensive front was really good. But they didn't feel like Dominic Thomas or Matt Jones would be a good running back option for Ole Miss. It has been a huge struggle. I think the name that everybody comes back to is Quinshon Judkins. Now, to Ole Miss's credit, I think they thought they filled that gap with Ulysses Bentley, with Henry Parrish Jr., and with Rashad Amos. None of those have worked out. Rashad Amos, Parrish Jr. have been injured, and Ulysses Bentley just hasn't panned out. So we have some missed evaluations, I think, on Ole Miss's staff, and it has been a huge, huge hole for this Ole Miss team. I expect Ole Miss to go heavy in the portal. And the high school ranks, Shakai Mills-Knight, talented 4-star running back out of Florida, has committed to Ole Miss. He'll be an immediate starter or an immediate impact player, I think, next year. And you throw him in with Austin Simmons and then Caden Lee, and we'll see where things go from there.
Egg Bowl on Friday. It's been on Thanksgiving. Do you like it on the Friday, on Black Friday? Would you like it to go back to Thanksgiving? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I guess I'm kind of different. I'm a traditional guy. I like it on Saturday. That hasn't happened very much in the lengthy series that this game has taken place always back to the 1900s. This is a game in which Ole Miss has done very well the last couple of years. The only win that MSU has had was when Mike Leach was final. It was his final game. Lane Kiffin is 3 out of his last 4 against the Bulldogs. MSU's defense is one of the worst in the country. Looking at fourth down conversions, they're 123 out of 133. Team sacks, they're 132 of 133, and then team tackles for loss, 131 out of 133. That's in the entire country. So, yeah, it's really – total defense, they're 127. So you really think if Ole Miss comes out and plays semi-decent football, they should really roll over that MSU defense. I think there's an opportunity for MSU to do some things through the air. Michael Van Buren is a talented freshman quarterback. They've got a couple of really good receivers that can go vertical on you. Ole Miss has had an issue with that left boundary a little bit this year. So there's an opportunity, I think, for MSU to score, but I just can't see them stopping Ole Miss. The Rebels coming into this game at home, they've been really good, 26-3 in their last 29 home, 12-1 since that 2023 season. And, Greg, you know what that one was? Mm-hmm. Kentucky. That will be a game in which Ole Miss fans will always circle for the remainder of our lifetime. It's one of the biggest losses in Ole Miss history, and it's hard to argue that right now.
Our good friend Brett Norsworthy reminds me 2007, 2008, the game was on Friday. I remember those so many years. Yeah, I remember so many years on Thanksgiving. And, of course, I remember covering a lot of those games when I was at ABC 24. And back in the day, and look, I'm not some Ole Miss insider like you, and, of course, you know what Brett is, part of the broadcast team. But back in the day, it was so pivotal to win your rivalry game. It's one of the great rivalries in college football, the Egg Bowl. But with everything that went into play this year, with the hopes that they were going to go to the playoff, and now the disappointment that more than likely they won't, does it take away a little bit of the shine of winning the Egg Bowl because the end result is you beat your rival and they're really, really bad this year, and you're not going to the playoff more than likely?
That's a really good question. By the way, thanks, Brett, for that note. 08 was when Ole Miss beat Mississippi State 45-0, and Sylvester Green was fired that day. The year before, Mississippi State had a punt return. Ole Miss was leading 13-0 going into the fourth quarter. MSU wins that game 14-13, I think, or 17-14. I forget. But anyway, that was when Ed Ogeron was fired that following Sunday. So a lot of fireworks back in that Friday game. That's a great question. We asked Lane Kiffin at the conclusion of the Florida game, and he kind of shook his head. He made the comment, we're out of the playoffs. There's nothing we can do. One of the media members asked him, how do you keep this team together? How do you get them motivated? He said, it's going to be a challenge. Obviously, some things changed during the day and during the night. We visited with Lane on Sunday, and his tone has changed. And I think it's good news for Ole Miss fans that the Ole Miss players understand that while it is a very small chance, there is a chance. And I think that adds a little bit of enthusiasm to this game. I do think there's a bit of a worry with only, I think there's 4 players from Mississippi on the Ole Miss roster. That's almost about half. So Tom, who was a talented quarterback back in the day at Ole Miss in the 1990s, he always addresses the team and lets them understand the importance of winning the battle for the Golden Egg. So that's always a key component every single year. But I do think that's a worry that Ole Miss will somehow forget about the rivalry and kind of get wallowed down because of the 3 losses. The good news, I do think this game is on Friday, so you've got all these games and chaos that can happen after you go out, win the game, win it convincingly in the eyes of the committee, and then sit back and wait and see where the chips fall.
All right, speaking of those chips falling, I'm going to ask you to look into the crystal ball, Brad, assuming again that they don't make it to the playoff. What do you think the result will be? Where will Ole Miss go? And then do you believe not making the playoff means there'll be more opt-outs from the players?
I think there'll be a number of opt-outs if they do not make the playoff for the bowl game, depending on what that game is. Now, I've seen prognostications from the Texas Bowl down to the back all the way up to the Music City. So I think Ole Miss could fall somewhere there in between. It will be an absolute skeleton crew. I may be wrong, but you asked me to look in the crystal ball, and that's what I'm doing. I don't know that Jackson Dart opts out because he's such a gamer, but I do expect a lot of opt-outs on both Ole Miss and defenses, especially that defense that's about number 1 in total defense, number 1 in pass efficiency, number 1 in yards per attempt, number 1 in yards per catch. That's Jackson Dart numbers. But the defense is number 1 in so many categories as well. They'll be ready for the NFL draft, and I think they're going to get ready for the Senior Bowl in some cases. So it will be a mass exodus, Greg, I think, for the bowl game, because it will be a very meaningless game in a large part because it just won't mean anything. But what Ole Miss will have is I think an opportunity for maybe Austin Simmons to get some substantial snaps, and could be an opportunity for Ole Miss to get some younger players into the game, maybe Nate Williams, a wide receiver. So, but yeah, this Ole Miss defense is one of the best that I've ever seen, Greg. I've been covering Ole Miss for a long time, and the 1993 defense, Joe Lee Dunn was one of the best, but I think this is the best in Ole Miss history. So many awards with Walter Nolan, the defensive tackle, Poop Hall at linebacker. You got Jared Ivey, J.J. Pegues. It's a really good defense. It's really a shame that this team has already lost 3 games.
Yeah, and what a job Pete Golding has done as the defensive coordinator. He's Brad Logan. You can follow him on Twitter at Brad Logan, COTE. You can hear him with Inside the Rebels on 247 Sports. He's with Max South Sports as well. He does radio and local TV in Mississippi, the Believe in Ole Miss podcast. He's the host of that and the co-host of the Red Blue Crew podcast. He's Brad Logan. Brad, happy Thanksgiving, and thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk to you down the road.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, good stuff. I know there's a lot of disappointed Ole Miss Rebels fans, no question about it. When we come back, Jerry Palm on what the standings, the rankings from last night mean, what it will mean if we have some upsets this week. We'll get his thoughts on the college football landscape. Hopefully talk a little college basketball as well with this great week of top-tier games that have already taken place and will continue to take place all this week. JP is next. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Here is Gould's Holiday Special in-store and online. Come to any Gould's over the Black Friday weekend or purchase online on Cyber Monday and Tuesday and receive $20 off when you purchase $120 in gift cards. It's the perfect gift for everyone. This holiday season, give the gift of tranquility with a spa gift card. Perfect for anyone who deserves a moment to unwind, refresh, and rejuvenate. Happy holidays from Gould's. Gould's Spa, locally owned and operated since 1932.
You want breakfast. You really want some breakfast, but you don't want to make breakfast. You really don't want to make breakfast. Making breakfast is a pain. How are you going to cook the bacon? Bake it, fry it, microwave it. Then how about your eggs? Fried, poached, then you'll want some bread. Want to mess with whipping up a batch of biscuits? Of course not. That's a lot of dishes. That's what Sunrise is for. Sunrise on Jefferson and Sunrise East on Poplar will make you the best breakfast you've ever had, and you don't have to lift anything but a fork. Just go to either Sunrise location and let them do the work. Oh, and if you don't feel like making a burger for lunch, go to Sunrise.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
Hi, this is Troy Five Ash, owner of Five Ash Roofing. Did you know there are so many roofing companies in Memphis that I don't even know them all? So that begs the question, which one should you choose? So I thought I'd give you a little background about me. My grandfather was a World War II Marine. My father worked for the University of Memphis for nearly 30 years. My mother, a pianist at Raleigh Baptist Church. Seems like forever. I went to Brownsville Road, Craigmont, and Bartlett High School, class of 81. We support the local school systems, youth athletics, and believe in what St. Jude and Le Bonheur stand for. I'm a Tiger and Grizz fan. The point? Memphis is my home. Five Ash Roofing will be around if you ever have a problem with the service we provide. Five Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical, with deep local ties in our community. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five Ash Roofing is what we do. We're here for you. Hey, good morning, McMahon. I hear it's the sign and drive sales event at Gossett Volkswagen Germantown. Give me with the scoop, dude.
Okay, Randy, how about 0 down payment, 0 security deposit, 0 first month lease payment, and 0 do-it signing?
Wow, 0 down payment, 0 security deposit, 0 first month lease payment, 0 do-it signing.
That's right, Randy. Plus 2024 Taos F, 0 down at $337 per month.
And I hear you got 5,000 off 2024 Peak Editions and 0.9% for 60 months on 2024 Atlas and Cross Sports.
You heard right, Randy. 5,000 off 2024 Peak Editions and 0.9 for 60 months on 2024 Atlas and Cross Sports.
Great Scott, McNate, you got it going on at Gossett Volkswagen Germantown. You need to get out there and see him. 7420 Winchester Road or shop online, GossipDWG.com.
Rock and Roll Hall of Famer Felix Cavalieri, founded a number of Nebraska's with Six Wire. This year's Puzzle Liberty Bowl, and you want to be there too. We'll hear all the iconic hits at the Buzzy Tail on December 26th at Beeline. And at halftime, 66 Puzzle Liberty Bowl on December 27th. Get your tickets today by calling the AutoZone Liberty Bowl at 795-7700. The Tennessee Highway Safety Office reminds you that fans don't let fans drive through.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. Traffic's cranking up even more over here on 385 Biltmore Parkway as you come in from Collierville, coming down 385 here at Riverdale, all the way to 240 at South. Trying to get a little bit busy over here in the last few minutes up by Mill Branch there in both directions, coming up from due south. Haven right now, not too bad on 55 going northbound. Hey, when you need dependable towing for your car or truck, make sure you call Marion Towing, your 24-hour towing service. That website, it's mariontowing.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers. Diamonds are forever. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 8:30 the time. Greg Gaston, Elijah Seegers. Eli is off. No shows tomorrow and Friday. We're back on Monday. It's been a busy couple of days. It's been a busy hour and a half so far, and that will continue over the course of the next 90 minutes before we hand things off to Bryant Dacus, who will pinch hit today for Dave Woloshin, once again for Wolo and Friends starting at 10 o'clock. Right now, it's time to talk with Jerry Palm.
It's time for Sports 56 Mornings Weekly Chat with Jerry Palm, college football and basketball writer and bracketologist for CBSSports.com. Here are Greg, Eli, and Jerry.
He is Jerry Palm, CBS Sports, CBSSports.com. You can follow him on Twitter at JPPalmCBS. He joins us each and every Wednesday during both the college football and college basketball seasons. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family, JP. How are you?
And same to you guys. I'm all right. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Any plans for Thanksgiving? You're just going to kick it at home?
Going to my in-laws in Indianapolis.
Okay.
We'll be there all weekend.
You got Purdue to end this dismal season against Indiana. Any chance they can do some damage to the Hoosiers?
Only if they do something like run the bus into the stadium or something like that. I mean, football team, no.
Is it epically bad, this year's team?
It is one of the worst in our history. Yeah, it is. It's absolutely unequivocal. One of the worst. I have a hard time coming up with one that I've seen that's worse.
Yeah.
But the icing on the cake is, looks like Ryan Walters is going to keep his job for another year. So cratering the program isn't bad enough. Apparently, they need to dig an even bigger hole. I feel sorry for my kids in the band who have to watch another year of this. Of course, they're in the band to be in the band more than they are for the football, but still.
Well, you want a fun product, right? You want a successful product. It makes everything better. Life's better.
Purdue drew almost 60,000 fans per game this year. They won't draw a fifth of that next year if Ryan Walters.
They drew 60,000 a game for that crappy product.
It was like just over 59. Yep.
See,
a lot of those tickets, were sold in advance.
No, I understand, but people actually showed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We had, at least for the early part, people didn't start leaving early until a couple of games ago.
Well, look, I'm in the same boat with Maryland. Obviously, in the Big Ten as well. They are a horrible football program with a horrible football coach, and I doubt they're going to do anything. It's crazy when I can actually predict not only the result of who wins and who loses, but pretty much the score. And wait till this weekend against Penn State when they lose by 4 touchdowns.
Yeah,
it's so easy to predict how bad that program is. And which gets me to this point.
And they beat Purdue by 40 if they got to play them.
I don't know about that.
I'm not even kidding.
I don't know about that one. But here's the thing. I've said this all season long. The top of the Big Ten is strong. We know it. All you got to do is look at the rankings, right? Oregon 1, Ohio State 2, Penn State 4. Now Indiana loses and they drop to 10. But that's 4 in the top 10. There is no middle. The rest of the league is mediocre at best. Whereas the SEC, I don't know if they have a team that's as strong as Oregon or Ohio State. It may be Georgia, but they've had some blemishes. But the middle of the SEC is strong, and we saw that. We saw that over the weekend. I don't think it's mediocrity. I think it's strength among numbers. But that's a tough one for the committee. They can't all of a sudden go, well, this team in the SEC, we think they're really good, but they have 4 losses, or they have 3 losses, and the team in the Big Ten has 1. But being top heavy in the Big Ten has benefited them, and being more, fluent throughout the top to bottom in the SEC has hurt them in a sense.
Yeah, I see your point. I don't think you're wrong. It's been the only other ranked team in the Big Ten is Illinois. They're 8-3, and they're in the 20 something maybe.
Right.
They're 23. So yeah. There is definitely a gap. And by the way, I think Indiana is closer to Illinois than they are to Ohio State, Penn State,
probably.
Oregon.
But I'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
Well, the Indiana proved this week that they're not in Ohio State's weight class.
Exactly.
Right? But they did dominate their first 9 games they played. Absolutely crushed everybody. They had a 5-point game with Michigan, who's got more Ohio State athlete, but they're not as well coached.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Ohio State, and Indiana got a schedule that's good to give them an opportunity to make the college football playoff if they can send another message to the committee against Purdue. And I would not be surprised to see something on the order of 63-0. Seriously.
I would not be surprised either. Do you think, let me ask you this. Do you think Indiana now, dropping the 10th, still in the playoff if the playoffs were to start tomorrow, which they don't, do you believe if Clemson beats South Carolina, Clemson sitting at number 12, they would jump Indiana?
They could. I mean, that would be their first notable win, which would give them one more than Indiana. Clemson's schedule hasn't been great either, but South Carolina's a good team.
They played Georgia but got rocked.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the 2 games they played that they lost were not particularly stellar performances. Louisville was more competitive, but yeah, but Louisville's not even in the rankings, and that was at home.
Right.
They could. I don't know that I'd bet on it, and maybe it would depend on how that game goes. That game's at Clemson, right? I think it is.
I believe it is. But here's the thing, and I'm with you. I wouldn't bet on it.
Yeah, Clemson's strength of schedule is not great either. I mean, it's not Indiana bad. By the way, Indiana went from like 100-something in strength of schedule to closer to 60 with 1 game.
Right. But here's the thing, though, with Clemson, and this goes back to the discussion that's been ongoing for weeks now about getting to the championship game. And you have said in the past on this show many times that they will not they will not be hurt by a team getting to the conference championship game and losing. How about
I actually wrote something about that this week, although it's going to be published Friday.
Okay, we'll look out for that. But here's the thing. How about a team not getting to the championship game at all? Clemson. Let's say Clemson does win that game against South Carolina, gets an impressive win, and then taking care of business, Indiana beats up on your Boilermakers. They jump them next week. They are benefited by not going to the conference championship game. Because let's say Clemson went to the conference championship game, which would mean a loss by Miami, I assume, against Syracuse, and they lose, then they're out. But if they don't play, they may jump Indiana, and then they get sit at home while the championship games are going on and count their blessings.
Okay, so here's what I discovered going back. It actually confirmed everything I thought. If you are the lower-ranked team in a conference championship game, and you lose, but the game is competitive, you don't get your doors blown off, you're not really going to get hurt at all in the rankings. However, you are subject to the fortunes of the teams around you who may also be playing. So you could lose and maybe hold your spot, but then somebody behind you wins a championship and jumps you. So you could lose ground that way. But the only teams that really lost ground any other way either were the higher-ranked team losing or the lower-ranked team but got smoked. And so those teams have lost ground on their own demerits. But for the most part, if you're the lower-ranked team and you've played a competitive game and lost, the committee is pretty forgiving of that. But that doesn't mean you're going to hold your spot, because you could still get jumped by teams behind you.
So I'm looking online at your projections, and you look at and project what you think the committee will do when it's all said and done, correct?
Yeah, and of course, I don't have the benefit of seeing the current week's rankings when I do that.
Right.
So, but yeah.
Then why do they make you put it out so early? But anyway, that's another story.
Because people want to see it on Sunday.
Okay.
They want to see it sometime Saturday night.
But it looks very similar to what we saw last night.
Right.
Your projection, I guess your thought is that the committee will have Arizona State in because they'll win the Big 12.
Yeah,
And
I have to pick a champion, right?
And you still got Boise in as the group of 5 and with a bye?
Yes.
Yes.
I think it did. Yeah.
And with
pretty
the
sure
bye
I had-
as the 4 seed.
I think
right.
I had the Big 12 as the champion not getting a bye.
Okay. You saw probably or read about Brett Yormark, the commissioner of the Big 12, already going out and stumping a little bit about how the Big 12 champion wouldn't get a bye is like ludicrous. I'm putting words in his mouth, but something to that effect.
Okay.
Do you think there's a chance that Boise, if they take care of business, whoever comes out of the Big 12 and is the champion jumps Boise?
No. Nope.
Too far behind?
If they beat Oregon State, and then they beat a UNLV team that is in the rankings to win their championship, I don't think the Big 12 is jumping Boise State. SMU did this week, though. That was interesting.
Right.
SMU not only jumped Boise State, but they jumped Indiana. So that was interesting.
Yeah, some people still believe they're too low. They should be higher. But, okay, now let me ask you this. How about if UNLV beats Boise, championship game, eliminates Boise, Tulane beats Memphis tomorrow, a 9-2 team, battle of 9-2 teams, then beats Army, who was in the rankings last week, not this week. Who's in, Tulane or UNLV?
My guess is UNLV because they're going to win at Boise State, and I think they get a lot of juice from a win like that. Tulane's not going to beat anybody ahead of them. So I would go with UNLV, assuming, of course, they beat Nevada this week and don't have to take a third loss.
Oh, that's right. I forgot they're playing Nevada this week. Yeah, you're right.
So it's assuming that UNLV's 11-2 with that win at Boise State. I think they get a lot of juice from that win, and the American champ doesn't get up there.
I said on Monday that I thought even though Saturday was chaotic in the SEC, and I know Indiana lost and dropped, but they're still in, that the chaos was something that I think benefited the committee. I think it's more of a clearer picture for the committee unless we have chaos this week, and I'm going to ask you about that in a second. But I think the SEC really made things easier by basically eliminating some of their teams, right?
Yeah, there's no question. It's they had those 4-2 loss teams, and they were trying to put them in an order, and you could almost justify any order of those teams, and they had one. But now, 2 of those teams played their way out. It sure makes it a lot easier to sort those 4 teams out among themselves.
Right.
So that certainly did make the committee's job easier, at least in terms of trying to figure out which of these SEC teams, or those 4 2-loss teams, how should they be compared to each other? Now 2 of them are out. It's a much easier task.
Okay, so do you see in your crystal ball, in the Palm crystal ball, any shockers this week of the games that really have significance to the playoffs?
I picked my upset of the week is USC over Notre Dame.
Oh, really?
USC has got the athletes to play with them, and they've been good on their home field. Road trips have not been kind to them, and they're taking long-distance road trips, except the one to UCLA across town, which is their only road win.
Mm-hmm.
But even the flight to Washington's like 3 hours. But but they've been good on their home field, and they've got this is a team that's got the kind of athletes that can play with Notre Dame, even though their record doesn't really reflect it. But they beat LSU. Well, LSU is playing with some pretty good athletes too. So, and Notre Dame hasn't played anybody athletically anywhere near them since Texas A&M.
So if Notre Dame loses to USC, that knocks them out. Clemson loses to South Carolina, let's say. Does that put South Carolina in? Do they jump, or does that put Alabama in?
It more likely puts Alabama in. More likely. I don't think they're going to jump Alabama.
Okay.
But they've had a good run, at the end of the year. South Carolina has. But I think if they're putting a 3-loss team in, it's probably Alabama.
All right, rapid fire. Does Michigan have a chance against Ohio State?
No.
Okay,
No.
who do you like, South Carolina and Clemson?
Clemson at home.
Okay, how about Miami? Any problems at Syracuse?
Yeah, Syracuse is feisty. And Miami likes to play with their food. So, yeah, I expect that to be whatever closer than the line. But I think Miami will win.
Any problems for SMU at home against Cal? Cal's decent.
Yeah, Cal's been feisty as well. Only if they're too geeked up for the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But if SMU just plays their game, they'll be all right.
Different topic, minute to go. What do you think of the Memphis Tigers basketball team?
Saw a little bit of them last night. Looked really good at Michigan against Michigan State there in Hawaii. That's a pretty good start. They beat UConn too, right? So,
yep.
Defensively they seem to be much better than they've been in recent years. And just a little bit I've seen. I'm honestly not terribly focused on basketball, but they look pretty good what I saw last night.
Yeah, big challenge. They'll play Auburn in the Maui Invitational Championship.
Oh, yeah, that's
today.
a good team too.
That's
Yep.
a really good team. Beat North Carolina by 13 yesterday. Had some great games yesterday. That Bama-Houston overtime game, the Kansas-Duke game. We'll be talking much more college basketball as the weeks progress with Mr. Jerry Palm. Happy Thanksgiving. Have a great one. Don't eat too much turkey. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, JP. All right. Jerry Palm, CBSSports.com. Okay, you got turkey. Gobble, gobble. But 364 days of the year, you got barbecue in Memphis. Now, if you ate barbecue for 364 days, I don't know. I don't know if you'd still be with us. It's great, but come on, folks. I'm being honest here. It's not like you're eating a salad here, for goodness sakes, but it is so darn good. I had Corky's the other day, and it was out of this world. It always is. They've been serving up delicious slow-smoked barbecue at Corky's for 4 decades. So, when you've digested the turkey and you're moving on this weekend, how about Friday night tailgating? Now, there'll be leftovers for turkey. I understand that, but you're not going to bring leftovers, are you? You're going to bring tailgating food. You bring Corky's to the high school football games. You got 4 state semifinal games in Tennessee, here in Memphis, in the Memphis area, coming up. It's going to be a huge Friday night. So, tailgate with Corky's. Now, you got an event coming up. You got a Christmas party, any kind of celebration, New Year's Eve party. Have Corky's cater. They'll start you out as low as $8.99 per person. Lunch specials every day. Party packs start at just $7.49. Reserve their private party room for any occasion. The Cordova and Olive Branch locations are available to you. Just give them a call and tell them what time and what date you're looking for. They will hook you up. They're at Poplar Avenue in Memphis, Poplar Avenue in Collierville, Germantown Parkway in Cordova, Goodman Road in Olive Branch, the best barbecue around. It's Corky's Ribs and Barbecue, open for lunch and dinner 7 days a week. You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Be sure to follow us at Sports 56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports 56 WHBQ.
Since 1948, in the alley, the Rendezvous. I'm with John Burgess. John, what's going on in the Rendezvous? Well, there's some things about the Rendezvous I'm going to talk about. For example, we make it really easy to park. We have valet parking right at Monroe Street in our alley. We also want to make it easy for people to get to doors. You can now park in our alley right at our front door and put your flashers on. People also forget that we take reservations for 6 or more. And we have a wonderful party room upstairs that can accommodate people for rehearsal dinners, birthday parties, reunions, graduations. Our rooms seat between 25 and 275 people. And everything at the Rendezvous can be packed to go. But we also do catering. See our menu online, and we can even deliver for groups of 15 or more. So if you have any questions, always feel free to call us at the Rendezvous because we answer our phone ourselves. You'll never hear. Please listen carefully for our menu listing. Press 1 for reservations, press 2 for hours, press 3 for catering, or if you know your party's 9-digit extension number and the first 3 letters of the mother's maiden name, dial it back. Come see us at the Rendezvous. Since 1948, the Rendezvous.
You want it? We got it at Gossett Mitsubishi on the Pike. The year-end sales event is going strong, and now it's your time to buy. Save big on 2024 Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV, $32,250 or $269 a month. 2024 Mitsubishi Mirage, $17,910 or $279 a month. Or 2024 Mitsubishi Outlander Sport. We got it at $28,050 or $399 a month. Plus, every Gossett Mitsubishi comes with Mitsubishi's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. The year-end sales event is going strong, so hurry to Gossett Mitsubishi today and end your year with big savings at 1870 Covington Pike and 24/7 at MemphisMitsubishi.com.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
RCO 67244, MSRP 42750, Mirage RHO 15713, MSRP 18410, Outlander RUO 20512, MSRP 29550, includes all rebates and incentives, PF 695, excludes tax, file, and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through end of the month. Dealer stock only.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Family Leisure needs your help. Family Leisure has inventory that got to move because you know what season is coming up. So why wait? You can complete your ultimate game room with a new pool table, a new shuffleboard, new arcade games, or just get all of them. Tons and tons of theater seating, overstocked, and priced to move. 'Tis the season for fire pits, and all fire pits at Family Leisure are 20 to 30% off. You say you didn't get a spa this year? Well, say no more. Spas are in stock, and they're ready for delivery, and up to $1,500 off. These are just a few of the deals happening right now for a very limited time. So come on, check out the gigantic showroom. You never know what kind of deal you're going to find at Family Leisure. Win Road and I-40, where family and fun come together.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers.
Don't you just love it?
Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 8:52 the time. Final few minutes here in hour number 2. Opening up hour 3, talking Grizzlies with DeMichael Cole, so stay tuned for that. I saw yesterday where Travis Hunter was not a finalist for the Jim Thorpe Award, which is given to the best defensive back in the country, correct? Best DB?
That's correct, yes.
And so his coach, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, said, Travis can have my award because this ain't the most idiotic thing in college. This ain't the most idiotic thing in college football, being sarcastic, meaning it is. Yes, it's idiotic because Travis Hunter is a finalist for Player of the Year, and he'll be in New York for the Heisman. And I'm not sure of the other awards that he's up for, but the Player of the Year awards he's up for, but he's not up for the best defensive back. That makes no sense to me. Makes
Is
no
the
sense.
rationale just that his numbers as a DB don't compare to the top statistical DB numbers in the country?
That's what it has to be, but I think he's a great defensive back and has those numbers, whether it be interceptions, whether it be breakups, tackles. I don't have all the numbers in front of me, so I can't sit here and say that for sure. But let's say, okay, just put it this way. If he's the 4th best defensive back according to them, and they put the top 3 in as the finalists, then wouldn't it make sense that one of those three would be, or all three of them would be ahead of him for the player of the year? I guess not, because he plays the dual role. I guess that's what they're looking at. But still, to me, I'm with Coach Prime. That doesn't make any sense to me, because he is as productive on the defensive side, in fact, more so than he is on the offensive side. But he's productive in both. Look, he's the Heisman winner, and if he's not the Heisman winner, something's wrong. But,
I agree.
But I don't understand why he wouldn't be there. This is interesting. Dennis Dodd on Twitter, on X. We live in a world where the next North Carolina coach may be in the playoff. I wonder who he's thinking about. The Big 12 may not be in the playoff, and the SEC may only get 2 teams in the playoff. Well, not really. The Big 12 is going to be in the playoff. If the SEC gets 2, Greg Sankey may bring an Uzi into that committee office and just go crazy, that committee gathering. There's no way. But then again, I thought for sure 4. I still haven't relinquished that thought, even though right now they're on the outside looking in to get 4. But only 2? Yeah, that's hard to fathom. Big 12 is getting a team. But the next NC coach, the next North Carolina coach, I remember the days of, who was it? John Bunting was the coach there, and Everett Withers wasn't. Who? This is off the top of my head. See if you can pull up the North Carolina head football coaches just in the last 25 years. Now, Mac Brown has had 2 runs. Amazing first run, good start to the second run, and it ends at the age of 73. But they have had some questionable head football coaches. I think it's a program that should be much better than it is. I know it's basketball heaven in Carolina, and the emphasis always at UNC on basketball. But I think the money they put into that program, that money they put into that sports department, that athletic department, they should be much better. They've had years where they've been successful. But my gosh, I'm trying to think. John Bunting, I think, was a head coach at one point. I want to say Everett Withers. Gene Chizik. You have that list?
Yeah, I've got it pulled up. You have Larry Fedora on this list.
Larry Fedora, okay.
Butch Davis.
Right.
Carl Torbush.
Carl Torbush, another one.
Mac Brown, obviously, who's been there. Jim Tatum. Let's see, that's a long time ago.
Was John Bunting not on that list?
John Bunting, 2001 to 2006.
Yeah. And then what about Withers?
Withers, 2011, only 1 season.
Yeah, I mean, they've made some bad choices. So I wonder when Dennis Dodd tweets something like that, and he's just kind of throwing it out there, but that the North Carolina coach, their next coach, could be in the playoff. I wonder who he's looking at. Because if you look at the playoffs today, who would leave their current team? Is he talking about the Boise State coach? Is he talking about Dillingham's from, they're not going from Arizona State, where he's from that area, to have all that success, and I think he's an alum, and go to North Carolina. I can't even imagine who he's talking about. Signetti's happy at Indiana. They're in the Big Ten, for goodness sakes. SMU and Lashley, though, he's happy. They're in the ACC. So I don't even know who he's talking about. I still think that North Carolina should be able to get a decent name. I don't know if they will, though. All right, one final thing. If you're on X, folks, you know that you can have your timeline pretty much in order if you're on the following tab. You know this, right, Elijah? And then if you go to the For You tab, it's like tweets from 18 hours ago, 3 days ago. There's no rhyme or reason to these. So I popped this on. So this one comes from 16 hours ago, but it is our good friend Sam Hardiman, friend of the show from the Daily Memphian. And he tweeted this out 16 hours ago, but I saw this. It has nothing to do with sports, but I'm like, really? The Memphis City Council approved $1.5 million to fix the broken escalators at Benjamin Hook Central Library, which is a beautiful library, which have been out since the first Trump administration. So he's got to be joking, right? Please tell me that the escalators have not been out since that long. And that's got to be a joke. I would imagine he means really long time, but maybe he's being literal. The other thing is $1.5 million to fix escalators?
There's going to be some nice escalators up in there.
Are they paved in gold? Do they go to heaven? Are they escalators that go right up to heaven? What? Maybe I'm out of touch with how much things cost. $1.5 million to fix the broken escalators. Wow, that blew me away when I saw that. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, hour number 3, we'll talk Grizzlies with DeMichael Cole, and then we'll get back into Tigers basketball and all things local sports with Matt Infield from Action News 5. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Here's Gould's Holiday Special in-store and online. Come to any Gould's over the Black Friday weekend or purchase online on Cyber Monday and Tuesday and receive $20 off when you purchase $120 in gift cards. It's the perfect gift for everyone. This holiday season, give the gift of tranquility with a spa gift card. Perfect for anyone who deserves a moment to unwind, refresh, and rejuvenate. Happy holidays from Gould's. Gould's Spa, locally owned and operated since 1932.
Price does not include licensing costs, registration fees, taxes, and dealer doc fee of $899.50, which are to be paid by the consumer. Silverado RG 355,553, MSRP 57,330, dealer discount 4,002. Sierra RZ 325,360, MSRP 54,330, dealer discount 4,000, expires 12/2/24.
Pick up some touchdowns this weekend. They're on sale at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. DraftKings has doorbuster profit boosts. Grab some touchdowns with DraftKings Sportsbook. They're on sale from Thanksgiving through Cyber Monday. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use the code HERD, H-E-R-D, to opt in. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. One bonus bet per customer based on amount of initial touchdown bet and expires 168 hours after issuance. One single use boost per customer that only applies to winnings. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos for additional terms and responsible gaming resources.
Welcome to Triumph Auto Sales, where you'll have a great car buying experience. Triumph Auto Sales is your #1 source of quality pre-owned vehicles ranging from lease returns to new car trades, all at huge savings. Plus, Triumph has a full array of financing options to meet your needs. Find your next car online at TriumphAutoSales.com or stop in today at 4875 Elmore Road. Triumph Auto Sales will help you get the vehicle you want at the price you need and the service you deserve. For a great car and a great experience from a local and family-owned business, visit Triumph Auto Sales. This Rebel Yell is back. Rebel Yell online radio show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Nancy Porter with 24/7 Sports. Your Ole Miss defensive captain Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC sports ball, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Garvey from kickoff to free throw to extra innings. Your Ole Miss Sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South Sports Station. Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. Working with a couple of my directs out here. It's trying to build with a little bit more volume just in the last 15-20 minutes on 40 westbound passing Sycamore View Road. Some of this traffic getting off on that 240 flyover. Some of it getting there onto Sam Cooper coming inbound as well. Still looks good right now through the Midtown area. Normally it'd be a little bit more crowded than this on 240 north here up by Norris all the way up to Lamar. Hey, shop now and save during this holiday season at Weimer's Jewelry, located 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis with John Harden. Weekdays from 11 to 1.
Welcome back, everyone. 9:04 the time. Our final hour this week here on Sports 56 Mornings. Greg Gaston, Elijah Seegers, Eli off, headed to San Diego. He'll be on the call of Ole Miss BYU. They got a couple of men's basketball games coming up, including one tomorrow at 4 o'clock. And we'll have that for you right here on Sports 56, 98.5 FM, Ole Miss BYU tomorrow. I'll be headed to New Orleans for Thanksgiving for the Tigers and Tulane. That will be tomorrow night at 6:30. That game will be nationally televised on ESPN. The Egg Bowl, by the way, will be on ABC on Friday beginning at 2:30 from Vaught-Hemingway in Oxford, where Ole Miss is a 26.5-point favorite. Currently 48 degrees. It will get up to 59 today. It's cloudy. There's rain coming if it hasn't already started. Chance of rain at about 70%. And then we're looking at overnight lows about 42 with rain showers this evening and overcast skies overnight. Your Thursday, 49 for a high. That's it. Little bit of sun, mostly clouds, about a 6% chance of rain on your Thanksgiving day. We got a busy Grizzly schedule. Started off on Monday. 3 more home games this week. We'll talk to DeMichael Cole in just one moment. Do want to tell you folks about Jenkins Floors and More. Third hour sponsor of Sports 56 Mornings, located at 2356 Goodman Road in beautiful Horn Lake, Mississippi. They also have stores in Cleveland, Mississippi, and in Little Rock, Arkansas. They specialize in flooring and carpeting. SPC, WPC vinyl, ceramic and porcelain tiles, hardwoods by Portercraft, carpeting from Southern Luxury Carpet, top-of-the-line material if you want to do it yourself or if you want them to do it for you. Because here's another thing. They're going to sell it wholesale to you. So there's no middleman. There's no markups. You're going to save lots of money. So it makes sense if you're doing it yourself to get your material from Jenkins, or if you want them to do it for you, you're going to save money in the process. They will go to you wherever you are, and they will give you a free estimate, show you different samples of what it will look like. It makes sense to allow Jenkins to do your flooring and carpeting. So give them a call. Tell them you heard it here on Sports 56 Mornings, 662-469-9350. That's the phone number in Horn Lake. You can stop by 2356 Goodman Road. They're open Monday through Saturday. Great family, great service, financing available at Jenkins Floors and More. Time now to talk to DeMichael Cole.
It's time to talk some Grizzlies basketball. Joining Greg and Eli is DeMichael Cole, Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal. Here's DeMichael with Greg and Eli.
Here's DeMichael Cole, does an outstanding job covering the Memphis Grizzlies for the Commercial Appeal. You can follow him on Twitter at DeMichaelC. Good morning and happy Thanksgiving, DeMichael.
Good morning. Happy Thanksgiving, man.
Not much time for you to do anything with the busy week that you have. Wow, 4 home games this week for the Grizzlies, and good start with the win as they took care of business against Portland on Monday. You know, I was saying it's unfortunate. I understand, don't get me wrong, I understand with the investment in Ja, but I think it's unfortunate because there are going to be people that are in town visiting family with a chance to watch Ja Morant one time. Maybe people who could only afford one game all season, and it was this game. And because he bumped knees, he's not playing. If this game was meaningful, he's playing, right?
I mean,
he bumped knees.
Yeah, but I mean, this was a thing where it's one of those type of injuries where you play in the second half, which he did, but when you go to sleep or whatever, it's sore after the fact. But yeah, I mean, sure, of course, like if it was probably a little bit more meaningful game, it would have played. But I mean, that's kind of become a theme, with the modern NBA. Like, guys get nicked up, and they're not really playing through a lot of stuff these days. Even with the league tried to implement a whole rule, with the 65-game rule to get guys to play more. And,
right.
Ja is well on his way to not qualifying for that 65-game thing.
That's unfortunate, DeMichael. I mean, look, we pacify the athletes today. I'm not saying the athletes are soft. I know he's had that, I think on social media and all that. That is not the case. It's just they're not given that opportunity by organizations because the investments that are made. Some are, but most are not. So again, like I said, I understand
I understand but he bumped the knee. He went back in the game and played brilliantly. Yeah, maybe a little sore the next day, which was 2 days ago, by the way, when it happened. Come on. I'm not buying it, but that's the way we are. But he came back from the injury with no rust. Throwing down his first dunk emphatically, that tomahawk, throwing the behind the back pass, doing things again, and reaffirming why I've always said when John Morant's on the court, it's must-see television. You have to tune into the Grizzlies.
I mean, that's how it was. And I always say that it's not hyperbole to say, like, when John's playing, his highlights for a game or two, or in this case, pretty much one half, can rival most guys, full season highlights. Like,
it's crazy, isn't it? But you're right.
I mean, we saw no-look passes, alley-oops, the dunk. There were a couple times the play didn't get converted, and he made some nice passes and things like that. So, I mean, it's different. I tell you, I was just talking to the players afterwards. Those dudes, they notice the difference when he's on the floor, and they enjoy it.
Yeah, the numbers you can't argue with, right? The results are the results when he plays and how effective they are, and the small sample size of when he plays with Dez and Jaren. We know how good this team is, but this team is pretty solid even when he's out. And I would imagine a bigger role for Scottie Pippen Jr. after Monday not playing much. In fact, the 11th player to get into the game after his 30-point double-double performance in Chicago. What did you think of that situation on Monday in the game against Portland, where even Marcus Smart, coming back from injury, got off the bench before Scottie Pippen Jr. did?
Yeah, it's kind of going to be a revolving door. I don't think it says too much. Like for example, based off of what we saw, like you said, Marcus Smart get in before Scottie Pippen Jr. But does that mean Marcus Smart's going to start today at the point guard over Scottie Pippen Jr.? I'm not really sure. So I think it's going to be so much movement over the course of the season, and I think the goal is for Taylor Jenkins to eventually get this thing down to 9 or 10 guys. They comfortably played 11 in this last game, and with Jai, maybe they'll go to 10 pretty much in this game against the Pistons. But yeah, you're gonna still see them kind of just bring guys in and out of there, and I mean, even with the minutes distribution, I mean, there was a point where I think Luke Kennard was at 8 minutes, and Desmond Bain and Jalen Wells were still at 7. So, like, it's going to be a long process to figure out how to find time for. And I guess that's the good part of having all this depth.
It sure is.
Not something that we've talked about much with the Grizzlies since the beginning of last season.
No question they're one of the deepest teams in the NBA. I mean, just look at that lineup from top to bottom, and everybody who plays seems to produce. Maybe not on a nightly basis, but many of them are consistent. We had Santi Aldama coming off the bench, throwing up a double-double and getting 17 rebounds, for goodness sakes. But to answer your question, which wasn't posed toward me, but I'll go ahead and jump in, I would guess that Pippen starts and Smart comes off the bench. I think the bigger question is, with Ja and Dez in place, the way Wells is playing, DeMichael, I don't see, and I think Eli, I don't want to speak for him, but I thought he said he believed that Smart would eventually get back as a starter. Do you believe Smart will start over Wells, or Wells will continue to start?
I think right now Jalen Wells will continue to start.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's pretty much what we'll see, because what he's done is, for one, he's shooting a three-pointer at a very high level, added that floor spacing element. But there are a few guys that could do that. The big difference is defensively what he's done. So with Marcus Smart, you're going to get strong defense and things like that. But in Jalen Wells, you got a 6'6", 6'7" guy who has long arms. So basically, more depth at guarding those bigger, taller wings instead of throwing a 6'3", 6'4" Marcus Smart. On the dude, he has long arms too. But yeah, and then the way he shoots the basketball, putting him alongside of Dez and flanking Ja Morant with those two type shooters. Ja Morant has never consistently been in a starting lineup with two guys who could shoot the basketball like that on the wing. Ever. Like, he got here, and, I think Grayson Allen was solid, and then, Dylan Brooks, up and down shooter. And then you had, after that, you got Desmond Bain jumping into the starting lineup, which was great, but then you had Dylan Brooks, Marcus Smart, Zaire Williams. Like, that third spot has never been a consistent enough, or a guy who just shoots at a high 3-point percentage like Jalen Wells has done so far this rookie season. So you put Desmond Bain and Jalen Wells on the floor, and you get more driving lanes for Ja Morant. Jaren's going to get all the attention in the world with the way he's playing. So it's definitely worth exploring. Marcus Smart is a vet, so if it doesn't work out, you could always go back to good old reliable, right? But I am definitely all for the idea of Jalen Wells being in the starting lineup and seeing how Marcus Smart could adjust to the bench role.
Yeah, I think there's good points that you make. DeMichael Cole joining us on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines. Zach Edey, what's his status? When do you expect him back?
He's still going to be out for some time, I would say. He, still, to my knowledge, wasn't practicing. So it's a thing where I think as maybe next week we'll start to see a little bit more movement, along his timeline. But, they say he's week to week. But, I don't think he's, from a speculative standpoint, I'd say probably not in November. So we'll see him in December at some point.
Look, anything can happen, injuries, things of that nature, absences, personal time that people have to leave. But, you have the Pistons, an improved team that come in tonight. Jalen Duren, obviously the former Memphis Tiger, Caleb Cunningham, and Jay Ivey's in the lineup where he should be. Last year was messed up with the way they dealt with him. Friday, you got a damaged New Orleans team that's getting a little healthier, getting some players back, but they've had problems, a lot of problems that were similar to what the Grizzlies went through last year. Indiana's a good team, not a great team on Sunday. Do you think Memphis can sweep and win all four this week at home? Which would if they did that, it would extend that winning streak to 6 overall. Is that correct?
Yeah. They definitely can, and I think I've said a couple times that they should. Like, without a doubt. Like, this is a stretch that you should win every single game. But with Ja missing one, if he misses the second game, I think you're fine with 3-1 in the last 4. This 4-game homestand. Because it's going to get a little bit tougher now with the Pelicans getting some guys back. Like Jose Alvarado and Zion Williamson are still out, but DeJounte Murray expected to return today, actually, for the Pelicans. So DeJounte Murray could be back. Brandon Ingram is day-to-day with a calf injury right now, but, if he's day-to-day, realistically, then he would be back. And then C.J. McCollum is already back. So you're saying C.J. McCollum, Brandon Ingram, DeJounte Murray, and then Trey Murphy recently came back. So at this point now, you're just missing Zion, and they've played a lot without Zion over the years. So that's nothing new for them. But with all that being said, I say that to say that Pelicans game could be tricky without Ja Morant being available. And if they were to, slip up in that one, I would understand. Well, but if Ja comes back, and of course with this game, you're not supposed to lose. I think this is a stretch. The Grizzlies have a chance to make some movement, make up some ground in the Western Conference standings. And as I said before Monday's game, this is just how tight the West is. Before Monday's game, they were 7th, tied with the Clippers. Now 2 wins later, they've already jumped to 4th. They passed the Suns, passed the Lakers, passed the Clippers. So now they're 4th in the West, and ahead of them is the Warriors and the Rockets, basically a game and a half. So you win these next couple games, you go up to 13-7. You'll be probably in the 2 or 3 spot.
Right. It'll only be the quarter pole for the season, but certainly sets the tone, and it shows you how congested it is in the Western Conference. There's parity all over the place. DeMichael Cole joining us here on the program. All right, so let me ask you this. This team has a lot of strength at a lot of positions and a lot of depth, and they don't have all their guys yet. So do you see, looking into the crystal ball, a move that would be made? And if so, where's the deficiency? What do you think the Grizzlies could do before the trade deadline, if anything, to strengthen their team?
I still, even though, Jalen Wells is good in his role, as a 3-point shooter and a defender, I still think there's some good volume shooters out there that if you want to make a splash play, you can target. Now, if the price is too high, you don't want to overpay because you say, hey, we got Jalen Wells, who's probably going to take a second-year jump next year. Or you got Vince Williams Jr., who will be healthy, sometime in January. So I still think being ticky-tacky here, that wing, who's a good volume shooter like a Cam Johnson in Brooklyn, really comes to
That's
mind.
what Eli said yesterday. He was all over Cam Johnson.
Cam Johnson is the one guy. I don't think you really lacking for, a shot creation to the point where you're gonna make movements in your rotation to go get, another shot creator. Like I think you have Ja. Dez is solid in that regard. Jaren is one of the best ISO scorers in the NBA right now. And Gigi Jackson, when he gets back, is very capable of being, a self-creator. So you have those type of guys. But in addition to that, they're one of the top rebounding teams in the league right now. It would be easy for me to say, you could kind of go, strengthen it, the team in the front court somewhere. But that's kind of going to be tough to do with the Brandon Clark, with the money that you issued out to Brandon Clark. It's just Jay Huff kind of being in the new role that he's in, and Santi has progressed. Like I don't know if you remember, but before the season started, we had this
Yes,
conversation about Gigi Jackson, and
I said
that. Gigi Jackson isn't cracking that rotation
Yes,
if Santi's playing well.
I remember specifically. I think about that all the time when I think about a fully healthy roster. I mean, you made the call. That's probably the case, and I think you've been right on with it. But real quick, what do you think it would take? What do you think you would have to give up to get a player, let's say Cam Johnson? And if you don't want to be specific, that's fine. But kind of in a generalization, what do you think you'd have to give up?
You got to give up one of those mid-tier, bigger contracts for the Grizzlies to make the money work. So the mid-tier contracts we're talking, essentially it's going to be Marcus Smart or Brandon Clark. And I do think, based off of the way that those two guys have played, they are movable in a way. Marcus Smart more so than Brandon, because Marcus Smart's role is just unsettled right now. And that's kind of, it's like being in no man's land. That's kind of where he is as a veteran player. You know he's valuable, but you're conflicted on where to play him. You say, oh, he's not starting anymore, just put him at backup point guard.
Yeah.
Well, Scottie Pippen Jr. just had a 30-point, 10-assist game, and, he's been solid, in spurts. So you say, oh, put him along the wing as a backup. Well, actually, Jake LaRavia has been one of your best plus-minus guys and impact stat guys when he's been on the floor. So it's a tough spot. He's kind of in no man's land, and he doesn't make no man's money. Like he's a $20 million a year player. So with that being said, I think it's going to be him or Brandon Clark to make the money work, because you can't go get a Cam Johnson without potentially moving one of those type contracts. And right now, his makes more sense than Brandon Clark, because even though Brandon Clark isn't scoring to the level he used to, his defensive advanced numbers have been great. He's still playing great alongside of Jaren Jackson Jr. And something that a lot of people haven't talked about is the fact that now with Ja back on the floor in that last game, Brandon Clark was in double figures, and a lot of that was, Ja Morant threw him an alley-oop. Ja Morant threw him the behind-the-back wide-open pass. Like, Ja feeds Brandon Clark, too, out of that pick and roll. So I think that's another big part to him playing well.
Yeah, they work really well together. He's DeMichael Cole. He works really well separately. He does it all his own. and he does a great job in covering the Memphis Grizzlies from top to bottom for the Commercial Appeal. Follow him on Twitter at DeMichael C. Listen to him every Wednesday, joining us all year long right here on Sports 56 Mornings. Happy Thanksgiving, DeMichael. Thank you as always. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, take care, guys.
Appreciate it. Folks, Dinstall's is a fine option for your little treats for the holidays, whether it be Thanksgiving, of course, stocking stuffers as well for Christmas. It's always a good time for the great candies and chocolates from Dinstall's. They've been making them for 122 years. Nope, I didn't misspeak there. 122 years and going strong. You can have them shipped anywhere in the country. Again, for the holidays, for a special occasion, the chocolates are out of this world. For Thanksgiving, right? Pick some up today. The chocolate turkeys, the cashew crunch, all your favorite treats for Thanksgiving and for all the holidays. It's Dinstall's Fine Candies and Chocolates with 5 locations. Laurelwood, that's in East Memphis, Germantown, Collierville, Pleasant View, where they make the candies. That's where the factory is. And in downtown Memphis, it's Dinstall's Fine Candies and Chocolates. They've been putting smiles on people's faces for over 122 years. When we come back, our buddy Matt Infield from Action News 5 joins me in studio. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
We are Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Sports Events, Sports 56 and 95 FM.
Family Leisure needs your help. Family Leisure has inventory but to move because you know what season is coming up. So why wait? You can complete your ultimate game room with a new pool table, a new shuffleboard, new arcade games, or just get all of them. Tons and tons of theater seating, overstocked and priced to move. 'Tis the season for fire pits, and all fire pits at Family Leisure are 20 to 30% off. You say you didn't get a spa this year? Well, say no more. Spas are in stock and they're ready for delivery and up to $1,500 off. These are just a few of the deals happening right now for a very limited time. So come on, check out the gigantic showroom. You never know what kind of deal you're going to find at Family Leisure. Wynn Road at I-40, where family and fun come together.
All 650 acquisition fee, K4 LXS, SEO 29100, MSRP 24230, Telluride RG 529 196, MSRP 41730, K5 S53 23133, MSRP 28330, must finance through Kia, excludes tax title and license with approved credit, dealer stock only, see dealer for complete details, valid through 12/2/24.
Hey, Jeff Allen, it's time to get ready for a season of new traditions at Gossett Kia South Mount Moriah.
Randy, my new tradition is saving my customers big bucks. I've got a 2025 Kia K4 LXS at $199 a month. That's less than $7 a day for a new ride. A 2024 K5 now $269 a month. Both $34.99 due at signing and a 24-month lease. And the 2025 Telluride, that spacious 8-seater SUV with high towing capacity and all-terrain tires, $348 per month. $39.99 due at signing.
Plus all new EV9, 0% for 72 months. And every Kia comes with America's best 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty.
So whether you live in Horn Lake, South Haven, Olive Branch, or Memphis, you'll be happy at Gossett Kia on Mount Moriah.
What gift are you going to get that person that's impossible to shop for? Give the gift of sound. JLab has the perfect gift for anyone with a variety of styles, sizes, and colors. And they have products for under $100, under $50, and even under $25. I love that. Save up to 60% on select JLab products this holiday season on JLab.com. Look for the JLab blue box at retailers everywhere or visit JLab.com today.
Hungry for that delicious smash burger flavor? Dyer's Cafe is the original smash burger since 1912 and still smashing burgers in Collierville's historic town square. Come out for the lunch specials Monday through Friday 11 to 2. Ask about the world-famous split dog and authentic Chicago or New York dog. Try the leaner side of Dyer's with a grilled chicken sandwich or freshly made salad. Also serving lakes, Delta-raised catfish, Pasquale's tamales, and a customer favorite hand-breaded onion rings. Dyer's, serving world-famous burgers, balls, and shakes in Collierville's historic town.
Welcome back, everyone. 9:29 the time. Our final 30 minutes and change before we wrap it up and call it a week. We got Thanksgiving tomorrow, Black Friday on Friday, obviously. So 2 days off for us. That's good news for us. And then we're back on Monday to kick off the new work week. And looking forward to all the great sports action. It's already been outstanding. Eli is off. He's with Ole Miss. He'll call their games out on the West Coast, out in beautiful San Diego, starting tomorrow. BYU, Ole Miss, 4 o'clock. We'll have it for you right here on Sports 56, 98.5 FM. I'll be headed down to New Orleans, where the Memphis Tigers are 2-touchdown underdogs to Tulane, nationally televised on ESPN tomorrow night. Elijah Seegers is with me, and now I'm joined in studio by my good friend Matt Infield, sports anchor reporter from WMC Channel 5. He'll be doing some sideline reporting for us next Wednesday when we got the Memphis Tigers and Louisiana Tech at FedEx Forum. And will the Tigers still be unbeaten by the time they come back? They have a chance. It will be a battle today, Matt.
Yep.
They got a good Auburn team, but man, they have made some noise in Hawaii.
Yeah, I mean, I was on another show last night after the game. It's really been kind of a manifestation of everything Penny said he wanted to see coming to life. And I understand after last season, I don't think a lot of people gave Penny the benefit of the doubt that this was all going to come together and this team was going to have this defensive identity and they were going to be as collectively competitive as they've been and just kind of have that spirit to never give up until the final whistle. But they're dogs, and it's all come to life. They play really hard and together on the defensive end. And, I said, I don't want to look at last season like last season was a total failure from start to finish, because obviously the non-conference last season was a lot of fun, but it was just so different just because last season the non-conference was so much offensive firepower that they could go, toe-to-toe with all these Power 4, Power 5 schools. Now this team, to me, has more staying power because clearly the chemistry they have on the defensive end travels night to night. And then, oh, by the way, you've got arguably, at the very least, one of the best backcourts in the country. You've got a big guy who can score in Dane Danger. So, yeah, phenomenal week so far.
I chronicled earlier in the show the timetable of everything that happened from the end of last year to get to this point. And there were so many rocky roads, and you thought, how could they be in the position they're in? The other thing is, you got these national guys coming out and saying, oh, we missed on Memphis. We had no idea. I'm not going to blame them.
Yeah.
None of us knew what this team was going to be like, but Penny knew. I got to give credit
100%.
to Penny Hardaway because he is the one who put this team together. That's why I'd love to sit down with Penny. I'd love to do it publicly on the show, but I'd love to sit down and go, all right, give me your strategy as you went in to look at these portal guys. I want to say, I was about to say free agents, but that's basically what they are.
Yeah.
And you've assembled the team because he has assembled a team that not only thinks defense first, has an array of shooters, not a plethora, but these guys are off to a great start. The backcourt you talked about is electric. Bigs that know their roles, all players that know their roles, and not 13 players where everybody is hemming and hawing about trying to get playing time. He was the one who put that together. He assembled that team.
Yeah, and you think about, you said not a plethora of shooters, but compared to some teams of years past, my first year here was the 22-23 season, which was awesome with Kendrick and DeAndre, but I said yesterday, you put Colby Rogers on that team, he would have been the best shooter on that team by miles and miles and miles. And PJ Carter probably would be as well. And I think it was interesting. He said on the season debut of the Penny Hardaway show that we did, that Will and I did on Action News 5, he had to rethink a lot this offseason. And, he addressed, having to let go of, Faraji and Jamie Roster and whatnot. And it had to, he had to adapt. And Stansbury as well. Yeah, he had to adapt. And listen, I think, obviously Penny better than I do, but I've gotten to know him recently pretty well over the last couple of years doing a TV show with him. And I think that we know what he's about. But also at the same time, I think that there was some criticism this offseason that was fair because it was chaotic. Letting your coaching staff go in September, 2 months before the season starts, it's a little bit wild. And
coming off the conference schedule last year where they lost and finished 7th. I mean, you're going to have criticism.
And then even, opening day, they lose Tyreek Smith, which I think that was much more of a Tyreek Smith and his people problem than anyone on the Memphis side. Mm-hmm. But you look at it, you're like, this is chaotic. Like, can this last? But I said throughout the offseason, if they win, no one's going to care. Like, now that they are 6-0, that they've beaten UConn and they beat Michigan State and have, 5 KenPom top 100 wins, whatever it is, no one cares that he fired the coaches 2 months before the season started because it's working right now.
Absolutely right. By the way, Elijah, where did you look up KenPom? Where did they got him in KenPom after the win yesterday?
Memphis Falls, as of today, 27th in KenPom.
Nice.
27th.
Nice.
And now with a chance, and where's Auburn, if you could look them up?
Auburn is the number 1 team in the country far and away.
Okay, so what I said earlier was, even if they lose, they're in the top 25 next
100%.
Monday. No question.
I think they're top 15?
If they win, they're
top 10. Yes. Yeah, I agree with
They're
that.
top 10.
100%. Yeah, I think I said, I think the ceiling outcome is probably top 7 if they win tonight. But I think the main thing, if you look back to last year, now the quality of these wins this week, UConn, Michigan State, is way better than Michigan and Arkansas in the battle for Atlantis last year. Obviously, the battle for Atlantis final, they got their doors blown off by Villanova. So kind of want to avoid that scenario, but any way you look at it, this week has been successful already. If they win the whole thing, it's just a cherry on top, and we're going to be really excited moving forward.
Auburn's really good, but are you surprised they're 8.5-point favorites?
I would maybe say I thought it would be closer to 6.
That's exactly what a lot of people said.
6. Yeah, but Auburn's very good. Auburn is very, very good.
You haven't been in Memphis a long time. You mentioned your first season was the Davis-Williams season, which got exciting around here, and unfortunately the whole Florida Atlantic thing and the tournament. But you could see the difference in this city from a sports standpoint when the Memphis Tigers men's basketball team is doing what they're doing, right? You could just see, you could see it, you could feel it, you could, I want to say, taste it. I mean, it's just there's this. I was at a watch party the last 2 days, and just the singing, the fight song, and the chants, and everything like that. And I'm sure that was going on at many different places. And we're talking about a regular season basketball game.
That's what I've said. So full disclosure, I like the NBA more than I do college basketball, just because I think the quality of play is obviously higher. But
plus, you're from the Northeast.
Yes, 100%.
Yes, I know, because I'm from the Northeast.
Yeah, pro sports just bigger up there. But I will say the cool thing about covering college basketball is weekday games in November matter so much more than a weekday game in November in the NBA. Because obviously in the NBA, I do think the start of this NBA season has been pretty high quality, but in the NBA, it's kind of just, if you're good enough, get to the playoffs healthy, and you're in good shape, and if you have a good enough seed. But every one of these games, I mean, I'm on the edge of my seat. Monday, I mean, you should see me and Doc and Jenny, our head of marketing at Choose 5. We're on the edge of our seat watching the end of the UConn game. And then yesterday, the Michigan State game. Because every one of these games, because there's so little of them relatively, they matter so much. And yeah, I'm with you. It brings a different buzz in the city. You could feel it.
Well, to your point, if the Grizzlies win tonight against Detroit, no big deal.
Yeah.
Right? If they lose, no big deal.
No. If they lose, there will be think pieces all over social media about why Taylor Jenkins should be fired. But other than that.
But in the scheme of things, 82 games, it doesn't matter.
Right.
The Tigers, you beat Auburn?
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
No.
But even if you lose this game, and look, I think they have a great chance. Obviously, they have a great chance to win it. But this has been a successful trip.
Yep.
We were talking 2-2 starting in San Francisco. I remember Eli and I saying, well, as long as you beat San Francisco, you go 2-2, it's successful.
Yep.
They're 3-0 going into a chance to win. And they're in the championship game of the Maui for the first time. I've been out there with this team. They never made the championship.
Yeah, and I think the good thing about the last 2 days is they play better in first halves as well, because as great as it is that they could just flip the switch in the second half, you don't want to rely on that, and at some point that's going to come back to bite you. And I'm sitting there when they're playing UConn the other day, I'm like, oh, they're tied at halftime. That could actually be a good sign for the second half, because I kind of thought they'd be down 8 to 10 points and then maybe about to come back in the second half, and that script was wild for that game. But yeah, I think the only thing I could say I want them to do right now is I want them to go add a player just for depth and insurance purposes, because
I think they will.
It's at some point, and I think it's got to be now. Kenny Stubblefield and I talked about it yesterday. Kenny thinks it's going to be a guard. I think I would rather get a big guy, essentially a Tyreke Smith replacement, just because you get in a situation like yesterday where Musa and Dane foul out, and I'm a big fan of Nick Jourdain. I don't think you want Nick Jourdain to be playing the 5 for any extended stretch of time.
If you're adding anybody, you're adding a front court player.
Right. That's my mindset on it.
So you had Mr. Let's Go Ballistic, Danny Hurley. Can't take away his 2 national championships, but Mr. Ballistic. Tom Izzo, he's not throwing out expletives, but he gets in your face.
Yep.
He was wearing out that female official yesterday. Now you got Bruce Pearl today. I mean, this could be another crazy antics type thing from an opposing head coach if Memphis puts him in that position.
I'm glad you brought this up because I also wanted to contrast the way that Izzo wasn't as bad yesterday, but Izzo was making his opinion heard. But Hurley was obviously
he's not a ranting maniac.
Hurley was out of his mind on Monday, even for his standards. And I like Danny Hurley; he's a great coach, but he was nuts on Monday. And I said there's probably 3 coaches in the country that could act the way he did on Monday and not get thrown out of that game, and he's one of them because of his credentials. But you could compare that to the way Penny talks with officials. And Penny is so cool, calm, collected. You can tell Penny will voice his opinion on calls and ask for explanations and whatnot. But Penny is cool as a fan for the most part. But think about the way that Penny would be discussed if he was acting like Danny Hurley, or even like, and maybe not Izzo yesterday, but if Penny was anywhere near a Hurley level on Monday, the think pieces that would be out about him would be insane. So, yeah, I think it's been just a great reflection on the program as a whole this week overall.
You wouldn't have known it from what happened to Hurley with the late technical foul. They hit him up with it for his antics. But there are people that believe that you have to be vocal, Bob Huggins type from back in the day, to get calls in the future. Do you agree with that? Because there are some that believe, well, Penny's a little too mild-mannered, so maybe they kind of walk over him and don't give him the benefit of the doubt, where they will the guys that are going absolutely nuts.
I think you have to work refs, don't you? That's what everyone says. You kind of got to, sometimes it's not about winning the argument in that moment as much as it is kind of planting the seeds in the head to get calls later in the game. But yeah, I don't know. Could Petty stand to be more along the lines of like looking at this week like an Izzo? Maybe. Do I want Petty to be the way Hurley was on Monday? No. It's just a terrible. Again, Hurley's great. That's not going to really take away from anything UConn has done the last couple of years or what they're going to do in the future. But come on, no one wants their program to have that reflection because everyone's sitting there on Monday like, dude's out of his mind. And again, he should have probably gotten teed up way earlier in that game. The rope that they gave him was pretty wild to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely. And, maybe Penny's trying to kill him with kindness. All right, hang around. We got one more segment to go. I want to get into the Tigers-Tulane game, your expectations for tomorrow. Maybe talk a little college football playoff as well, as we had the latest rankings come out yesterday. And maybe even try to squeeze in some Grizzlies with Matt Infield from Action News 5. You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Sorry.
Hit the break.
Hey fellas, it's Bill Russell of Russell Brothers Jewelers, and this year it happened on October the 21st. My first gentleman came in the store and asked me what he should get his wife for Christmas. My answer was get her what she will enjoy and something she will love. Think about what she likes. You might even ask her what she wants. Then, come into Russell Brothers and let us show you the finest, most beautiful jewelry in Memphis. Folks, this will be our 40th Christmas, and many of our customers have been with us for all 40 of those years. They come looking for fine jewelry that makes a lady's eyes dance, but they also know that they will receive quality, value, and service that is unsurpassed in Memphis. And at Russell Brothers, you can play St. Nick knowing that if you don't make the right choice, our money-back guarantee will allow her the ability to exchange her gift for one that she really does love, or she gets your money back. For 5 decades, we've helped thousands of Mid-South Sammers, and we'd love to help you. Russell Brothers, 4646 Poplar at Perkins.
What happens when former real estate agents want to sell their homes? This is Sheldon Rosengarten with Mark Spence-Thorpe Realtors. I am so proud and feel so honored when former real estate agents contact me when they want to sell their homes or someone has called them asking whom they should use. They know that I've been in the business for quite a while, have a great deal of experience, and know that I'm good at marketing and I'm part of a nationwide relocation network. Over the years, I've developed a highly successful strategic marketing program that can make the difference in what you make and when. Thinking of selling? Talk to 2 to 3 real estate brokers, but make sure I'm one of them. Remember what people often say, that when you want the job done, call Sheldon. So if you or someone you know is thinking of selling, remember what other former real estate agents do. They call me at 483-0546 or email me at memphisrelocate.com. That's Shell Dunn Rosengarten at memphisrelocate.com or 483-0546.
See website for details. This happen is not a lender investment make good decisions. Must be 18 years old. Not available in all states.
Honey, the credit card bill came in all maxed out.
Great! Maxed out cards, banks do, bills are piling up. We just need some extra cash to help us get by for a few weeks.
You should do what my brother did. He went to billshappen.com and got $3,000 the next day.
With our bad credit, I don't think so.
Billshappen.com is different. They are one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with all credit types and up to $5,000.
I'm sure there's a lot of paperwork.
Nope, my brother said it was easy. He did it right from his phone.
If you have a regular source of income, you can be approved for a loan for up to $5,000 in minutes, and your cash can hit your bank account the next day. Bills Happens lenders have millions of dollars to lend, regardless of your credit history. Great news! I went to billshappen.com, and we will have our money as soon as tomorrow.
Wow, that is fast.
If you need extra cash, go to billshappen.com. That's billshappen.com. Billshappen.com.
You know the great thing about having an event catered by Central Barbecue?
What was that?
They turn any event into a cookout.
You stole that directly from their website.
Well, I didn't expect you to have looked at their website.
I've got events coming up. It's the holiday season, and there's no better way to make things easier than to have Central Barbecue cater it.
They have everything. Box lunches, meat platters, nacho bar kits.
And half and full sheet pans of their traditional barbecue sides. I'm looking at the website right now. You're quoting it verbatim.
Not exactly verbatim.
Word for word. This is a new level of lazy even by your standards.
That doesn't make it any less true. You can't beat Central Barbecue Catering.
It's just plagiarism.
Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56.
Action News 5's Matt Infield spending some time with us. You can follow him on X at Matt_Infield. Okay, so Memphis football, it's been one of those years where on paper, 9-2, you shouldn't sneeze at that. I'm certainly not. I'm around the team all the time, so I know they are a good, solid football team. But I can understand the disappointment from the fan base for not getting into a conference championship game, let alone winning a championship. But they have a chance on national TV tomorrow night, Thanksgiving, the only college football game on television, to do something special against a team that is a 14-point favorite in Tulane over Memphis. This is the most, as far as underdog is concerned, points that Memphis is a dog in conference since 2013.
Yeah, that's nuts.
This is crazy. 11 years, yet we know they're a good team, but Tulane right now is playing out of their mind.
Yeah, I think this is a really good opportunity, cool opportunity. You know, Tulane has been, I said, the thorn in Memphis' side the last couple of years. You remember 22, the last time Memphis went to New Orleans. Tulane blew their doors off in the first half, and Memphis made a valiant effort to make it a competitive game in the second half, but really that game was not that close. And then last year, remember, Tulane came here as a Friday night game, and we're talking if Memphis wins and they could be on the fast track to host conference championship game. Tulane wins again. And then Tulane loses Willie Fritz in the offseason. He goes to Houston. Michael Pratt, record-setting quarterback, gets drafted by the Packers. And you're thinking, okay, they're going to be vulnerable this year. And they've been as good as they've been the last couple of years. So I think the Tigers would really like to play spoiler because I think, you know, who knows how this all plays out. But if Memphis goes to New Orleans and beats them tomorrow night, and obviously they're pretty heavy underdogs, but if they pull it off, Tulane's probably out of the G5 playoff conversation, I imagine. So I think that playing spoiler is a motivating factor.
You haven't been here his entire tenure, but your thoughts on Seth Hennigan, who will play his final regular season game tomorrow night.
Yeah, so I did the last sit down with Seth for the Ryan Silverfield TV show on Monday, and it's going to be interesting to kind of contextualize him down the road in terms of this line of quarterbacks that have come through here in the last decade or so. You got Paxton Lynch, who was a first-round pick. Riley Ferguson, I didn't realize how good Riley Ferguson's 2 years were until I looked at his numbers like a couple months ago. I was like, this is a pretty impressive 2 years. And then obviously Brady was a quarterback on the best team in program history. And then Seth comes through, 4-year starting quarterback, sets all these records and whatnot. More than anything, I think he's just someone that Tiger fans should be proud to say that he has represented the program because, man, like Seth, you know Seth. Seth is just such a good-natured, about the right things guy. I don't think Seth has played his best ball this year. Like, I think Seth played better ball coming down the stretch last year. Like, I think it was like the last 7 games of last season. He was awesome, and that kind of gave hope. Well, if he continues that into this year, then this team could really hit some heights they've never been to before. I think Seth has been okay this year, good at times. He was really good, obviously, against UAB, but maybe not what he wanted for himself. But I hope he goes out with a bang in these last 2 games, the Tulane game and then the bowl game, because he deserves it for the way he's represented the program.
Of course, there's no time to lament on what did not happen, meaning no championship game. So now you start to already work for next year.
Yep.
And Memphis got some big news yesterday.
Yeah.
LaShawn Williams, a running back from Iowa who's been hampered by injuries this year, but you're talking about a guy who has over 1,300 career rushing yards at Iowa, rushing in that physical Big Ten, and Memphis is able to land him.
Yeah, anytime a guy has any sort of production, and Iowa has a bit of a history with running backs, and they've got a really good one this year. I mean, you cannot say that Ryan Silverfield and company don't do work in the portal because they did it last offseason, bringing guys like Mario Anderson, Elijah Herring from SEC schools, and it looks like they're off to a fast start again. So, again, you have to translate that into eventually conference championships. I'm really interested to see if they go fishing for a quarterback in the portal because there are rumblings that they're after that. And obviously, you've got 2 young guys next year, Arrington Maiden, who's already with the program, Antoine Hill Jr. is coming in. But I think there's going to be some pressure to produce results next year. And to me, that implies going and getting a veteran quarterback. So I'm interested to see how that plays out.
That is the biggest question. We've already started to debate that. We're going to debate it a lot more until they make a move one way or the other. But do you put your eggs into one basket to a guy who has been here like Maiden, who hasn't played much? He's come in spot duty once in a blue moon.
Yep.
Or a young 4-star stud who, if he doesn't play, is he willing to sit out a redshirt year? Or do you bring in the veteran? Because what you can't do is have the drop-off. You can't go from 9, 10, 11, and you won 10 last year to now 7 at the expense of maybe a young quarterback. So that's a tough decision that will be made by Ryan and his staff. All right, playoff rankings came out last night. It looks like Tennessee, as long as they can beat Vandy, and that's not a given, they're going to be in. I'm trying to think of the teams that Action News 5 would cover regionally. Ole Miss, unfortunately, is going to be on the outside looking in.
It's just like, it's unfortunate that, because I think in another year, there could be chaos this weekend, which could vault them back in, except that this year, more than any other, beating Mississippi State just does absolutely nothing for your resume, especially at home. Just because, it's a rebuilding year for the Bulldogs, first year under Levy. But, yeah, that win is it's just not going to be that impressive.
Do you think it means, and again, you haven't been around here as long as I have, but do you think that the meaning of winning the Egg Bowl in a rivalry game has lost a little of its luster because of what's not going to happen for Ole Miss unless a miracle happens? In other words, they wanted to go to the playoffs. They wanted to win a national championship. Beating a bad Mississippi State team doesn't. Now, for Mississippi State, if they pull off the upset, it saves their season. But do you think it's the same kind of feeling from years past for Ole Miss?
There are 2 different ways this could go. They could look at it like it's not going to do anything for us, and our playoff hopes are probably cooked, and we're just going to get by and win in unconvincing fashion. Or they could say, we're going to take out some anger from last week. And I kind of lean it's going to be more in that direction, that they're going to really put it on them because they've got a reputation to kind of uphold, some pride to play for. So I kind of think it's going to be a blowout in their favor.
So when it's all said and done, how many SEC teams do you think get in?
Ooh, let me pull up the rankings real quick.
Dennis Dodd tweeted out today. He goes, there's the possibility of 2. I go, no, there's no way there's 2. But I thought for sure 4. And now I'm like, I don't know. Right now it would only be 3.
I think Texas got saved because I said before last weekend, if Texas lost to A&M this weekend, you could have the discussion about them being out because, I know it's the brand and I know they've got the players, but the resume isn't overly impressive this season.
No, not at all.
I think Georgia's got to be in, barring something like really wacky the last couple weeks of the regular season. I think Tennessee's in a really good spot as well. So 3 for now. I could see Alabama, but they need a lot of help as well. Although, even though Auburn is not that impressive this year, that win does boost you a little more than Ole Miss beating Mississippi State.
Is Georgia in your mind and in your eyes, even if they lose the championship game?
Yes, as long as they don't lose this weekend. Yes, I as long as
assuming they beat Tech,
as long as they beat Georgia Tech and they don't get absolutely throttled in the SEC championship game, yeah, I think they're in. And theoretically, that game is going to be against Texas, so it's going to be a rematch from earlier in the season. Obviously, they went to Austin and won. So, yeah, as long as Texas doesn't turn the tables in a massive way the other way, I think Georgia's in.
Clemson right now,
I don't get that.
They're ahead of Bama. They're ahead of Ole Miss. They're ahead of South Carolina. If Clemson beats South Carolina, will they jump Indiana? And the possibility of 3 ACC teams getting in, which is unfathomable. We never even gave that consideration before the season started.
Yeah, I mean, Clemson's the one. I'm just like, what is this resume? I get South Carolina's played a lot better lately, and they're kind of, on the outskirts of the conversation. I mean, that would be a good win for them, but again, that resume isn't overly impressive either. Do I think they should jump Indiana just off that? I don't think so. Will they? Probably, because again, Clemson has the reputation and the name brand. So, yeah, 3 ACC teams getting in would be wild, but I could definitely see them getting 2 for sure.
We shall see. There's going to be a lot that will be determined this weekend with the rivalry games, including, as we just talked about a moment ago, the Egg Bowl, which we'll have for you right here on Sports 56, 98.5 FM, beginning on Friday from Oxford at 12:30. You guys covering that?
Believe we will be short the manpower for that one because it's just me on Friday. And we've got a ton of high school football on Friday. So, yeah, I don't think we'll make it down there, unfortunately.
Oh, how many teams, real quick, how many teams of the 4 are going to advance to state championship games?
That's a good question. I think Mays will win. I think Houston will win. Who's it? Melrose playing.
Fairleigh plays and Melrose plays.
Yeah, I could see Fairleigh as well because Fairleigh's got some athletes and Fairleigh's a talented team. So, yeah, we'll see on Melrose. That's going to be a tough matchup with Pro-Co, and I'm not counting them out. But I'll say 3.
Isn't that Doc's alma mater? Fairleigh?
It is.
Yeah, you
Doc
better say they're going to win.
Yeah.
Doc's probably listening right now. Don't get Doc mad. Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes, has signed with the Minnesota Vikings practice squad after he cleared waivers. The former New York Giant quarterback. Now, this guy who's from the New York area, from Long Island, correct?
Yes, sir.
You're a Jets fan.
Correct.
Is Aaron Rodgers going to be a Jet next year?
No, because whatever the new regime looks like, I imagine they're going to want to start over a quarterback. And whether that's Tyrod Taylor as a bridge or another free agent guy, I don't know. But I can't imagine Rodgers being back next year.
So they're going to take one in the draft?
I don't know if they'll take one in the draft, unless definitely not in the first round, unless Shador somehow falls there, which I don't think is going to happen.
You know who's available in a trade? Zach Wilson.
Stop.
Hey, Matt, thank you so much.
Absolutely, man.
Really appreciate that. Check out Matt over at Action News 5. Matt Infield joining us here on the program. And that'll do it for us this week. Want to wish everybody a happy and safe Thanksgiving. I know a lot of people will be traveling. It's the busiest travel days of the year. So be careful out there and don't eat too much turkey, all right? Want to thank all our great guests, Brad Logan, Jerry Palm, DeMichael Cole, and Matt Infield. Coming up next, Brian Dacus pinch hitting for Dave Woloshin, who's out there in Hawaii. He's out there in Maui hoping the Tigers will win it all today as they'll take on the Auburn Tigers in a battle of Tigers. That will start at 4 o'clock Central Time. That'll do it for us. For Eli Savoy, who returns on Monday, and for Elijah Seegers, I'm Greg Gaston. Happy Thanksgiving. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next Monday.